Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman.
Well, good morning, and a pleasant good Friday morning. The weekend is finally upon us, everybody. Man, what a miserable day out there today. I mean, pouring down rain. This shirt probably looks tired because when you're walking in and, unless you have it covered up with, like when you go to the dry cleaner and they cover it up, right? I mean, I didn't have that today. So I've got this thing on a hook. And I'm walking in, and it's soaking wet. I hang it up in here to hopefully dry. So if my appearance looks a little wrinkled and tired, that's only because I am wrinkled and tired. Not just the shirt, but the face and the rest of my physique. We welcome you to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Thom Brennaman. We come your way Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to high noon. You can find us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports. We also stream live every day on Facebook. That's a Chatterbox Sports page. Many of you prefer to download us in podcast form. Just search Off the Bench with Thom Brennaman, and you're dialed in. Well, the big fellas, and I mean the big fellas, opened the workouts of the NFL Combine yesterday, and did you see this cat from Pitt? Now, that's the same school as Aaron Donald, right? Is it Kalijah Cansey? Is that how you pronounce it?
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Okay. That's his name. He is 6'1", 281 pounds. This guy runs a 4.6 40-yard dash time, okay? Now, that's the fastest time by a defensive tackle at the Combine since 2006. Oh, but they were just getting warmed up. Because an hour later, some dude from Northwestern who weighs 282 pounds runs a 4.49 40, which is believed to be the fastest time ever recorded at the Combine by a human being who weighs over 280 pounds. Is it any wonder, gentlemen, Casey McAllister and Paul Fritchner, is it any wonder that as the years go by, offensive linemen have a hard time blocking these guys? That stuff is insane. There was a time just a few years ago, receivers were running 4.4, and we were talking about how fast they were.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clear to me that the position, like at least where it matters most, like you can see where the athletes are going. The athletes are going to the most important positions in football, which is getting to the quarterback, the defensive line. And my goodness, that is booking it. 4.49. I mean, just to put it in perspective, I believe A.J. Green ran a 4.45 something. Or maybe it was Julio Jones. I mean, just if you could imagine that.
I just can't believe it. I mean, when you look at some of these guys, and it's one thing to see them on a football field where everybody's huge and they got their pads on and everything. We were talking about this with Anthony Richardson a little while ago off the air. I had never seen the guy just in a T-shirt. I mean, this guy's what, 230, 240 pounds? So now tack on another 40 or 50 plus pounds, and these guys are running 4.4, 4.5, 4.6 40s. It's just it's unbelievable how big and strong and powerful and fast these guys are coming out of college. And they only get bigger once they get to the pros. There appears to be trouble in Baltimore. Did you guys read this story?
I am familiar with it. Are you talking about Rashad Bateman?
Yeah. So one day after the Ravens general manager questions publicly why they can't draft top wide receivers, and he was actually, picking on himself a little bit, right? Because he's a GM. Their number one pick from 2 years ago, wide receiver Rashad Bateman, calls a general manager out on social media. Now, let's keep in mind that since being drafted in 2021, Bateman has missed 14 games due to injuries. And in 2+ years, he has 61 total catches. Now, it's worth noting that since the Ravens had their first draft in 1996, think about this for a minute, okay? They have never produced a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Not one time. And over the last 12 years, their receivers have the fewest receiving yards among all teams in the entire National Football League. And they want to bring Lamar Jackson back, who is not the best thrower on the planet. All right, college basketball. Quarterfinal round of the Horizon League tournament for the 5th consecutive season. They're the only team in the conference to do it. Northern Kentucky will advance to the semifinals. They beat Oakland last night, 81-74. 5 North scored in double figures. And this Chris Brandon guy, you were there last night, Paul.
Yeah.
This guy's an animal. He had a double-double, 13 points, 13 rebounds. They've played 32 games this season. In 16 of the 32, he has 10 or more rebounds. Now, that's getting after it.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he gets up there. He does get after it. He had a great game last night, and it always felt like Northern Kentucky was in control of the game. Even when it was tied in the second half, crowd got a little tense. I always felt like it was Northern Kentucky's game. They hit a couple of threes, get back in the lead, kind of kept Oakland at arm's length. It was a good win for NKU, and a solid one, too, after they just beat Oakland 5 days ago. So,
well, for those that may not know,
North's up.
Casey McAllister is a Northern Kentucky alum. Casey, did you know they played last night?
Well,
did you know we have their coach on again today?
You're
an alleged producer of the show working with ex-professionals. Did you know that Darren Horn is coming on the program again today?
Well, now I know. I know now. The other thing, too, once I finally figured out that they were playing at 7 o'clock last night.
Oh, my God. At least you admit it. I give you credit, Casey.
They also covered. How about that?
They did. Okay, so this was actually a funny story. So NKU, the line was -6.5 for NKU. They got to 79. The score was, I think, 79-74.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Was that
Yep.
the 79-74? Okay. So it was 79-74, and NKU was at the line to shoot a second free throw. They missed, and the entire crowd went berserk. And I was like, I know when a crowd will react to a line, like you can tell when everybody will stand up and be like, oh, no, they missed the cover, and sometimes, but it's more like a murmur. You don't hear the whole crowd. And I'm sitting there by myself, and I'm thinking to myself, what is going on here? Then I realized not only was that free throw for the cover, it was also to hit 80 points, which was everybody in the crowd got a free Big Mac.
Nice.
If they scored 80 points in a game. So Oakland comes down, misses a shot. With like 5 seconds left, they decide to foul. NKU goes back down to the line, hits one free throw to hit 80, hits a second free throw to cover. Everybody goes home
That's
happy.
cool.
Yeah.
That's good. Everybody's a winner.
Everybody goes home
Except
happy.
Oakland.
We love that.
Everybody's a winner.
Yep.
That's what we like in life. Everybody's a winner. So next up now for the Norse, and we'll talk with Darren Horn. We really appreciate this guy's time. I mean, we've had Wes Miller on the show. We've had Darren Horn on regularly. So those are 2 of the 3 big coaches of college basketball teams in our area. There is one notable missing piece that has never joined off the bench. Let's see if we can figure that out.
He did briefly.
Wes Miller was on. Darren Horn was on. Casey, who am I missing?
Is it another Miller? I think it is. I think it's Sean.
I've
Sean
tried.
Miller.
Let's get Travis.
All we do is talk him up. I tell you, those days are getting ready. You know what? I'm going to always be objective. I'm going to keep my emotions, my feelings out of it entirely. The guy's a great coach. I will always talk him up. But the facts are the facts. We've asked him a couple of times to come on. No Sean Miller. No Sean. And maybe he doesn't care. That's okay. He will one day.
We'll get Travis Steele on instead.
We're bigger than Barstool and bigger than McAfee and all your clown friends. He'll care then, and then we won't ask. But Darren Horn, Wes Miller, they've joined the program. The Norse will take on top seed Youngstown State. It's kind of weird the way they do the tournament. So you play the first round games at the home sites. A lot of conference tournaments do that. And then you move to a central venue for the next round. But they're waiting until Monday to play. And by the way, NKU and Youngstown State split their regular season series. In the top 20, number 1, Houston rolls all over Wichita State. Number 4, UCLA. You continue to bet the under. And all Mick Cronin's team, all they do is keep on rolling. 79-61 over Arizona State. I said weeks ago, Paul, and then they hit a slump. I said the Bruins are your national champions this year. Did I not?
You did say that.
They're going to win the whole thing.
Number 2 team on Ken Palm. They got it rolling right now.
They're going to win it all. Number 5, Purdue, hung on to beat Wisconsin in Madison, 63-61. Illinois, a big win last night over Michigan, 91-87. Did you see this story about fifth-year senior Antoine Davis of Detroit Mercy? This is back to the Horizon League for a minute. He finished 3 points shy of breaking Pistol Pete Maravich's all-time scoring record last night in college basketball. Davis finished with 3,664 points. His team was eliminated in the Horizon League tournament last night. It should be noted, of course, Davis played 5 years. Maravich played 3. Maravich played at a time where there was no three-point shot, and he would have made a ton of them. Freshmen weren't eligible to play back then, and there was no shot clock. So if other teams wanted to hold the ball for a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it might be, Pistol Pete puts up nearly 3,700 in 3 years, averaged 44 a night. I'm telling you, it's worth 5 minutes of your time. For those of you not old enough to remember Pistol Pete, and I am old enough, he had the long kind of Beatles-like haircut. He had the floppy socks that he made famous. Never seen a guy, Curly Neal maybe with the Globetrotters. Absolute magician with the ball. He was the first guy behind the back passes and all this. I mean, this guy. And he had free reign because his dad, Press Maravich, was his college coach at LSU. So he went, look him up sometime on YouTube.
Well, Antoine Davis's dad is his head coach at Detroit, Mike Davis.
Yes.
Yeah. I am very interested to see if Detroit buys their way into like the CIT or the CBI.
Buys their way? What do you mean buys their way?
Like those like really low-level postseason tournaments. Yeah. You basically, if you want to get into those tournaments, you can get into those tournaments. Okay. And I don't know if because they finished under 500. I don't know if there's a threshold, kind of like a bowl, like you have to finish at 500 or I don't know.
That should be a rule.
It should be. Okay. It might be. I don't know. But if there's not a rule and Detroit can play some sort of game to get him 3 points, 4 points, would not shock me. Because that's basically what this Detroit team has been about. They're not a good basketball team at all. This whole thing with Detroit has been to get Antoine Davis this record, and he came up 3 points short. Had a shot at the buzzer to tie the record. Went off the rim. So I'll be very interested to see if Detroit plays another game this year. But we'll see.
Okay. College basketball tonight, Mid-American Conference action. Miami plays at Buffalo. Bowling Green is in Athens. Where would you rather be on a Friday night? You know, if I were like the team captain at your last game of the year, you got to go to the coach if you play for Bowling Green. And I've talked to a bunch of people from Bowling Green that played athletics, football, baseball. They'd go down to Athens. And I'd say to the coach, look, let's don't get on the bus after the game and ride all the way back to Bowling Green. We got to go do the Court Street Shuffle and hang out. Friday night in A-Town. Seniors, let them have their, good time on a Friday night. No better place on the planet than Athens, Ohio. Over the weekend, Xavier plays its season finale. That's tomorrow night at home against Butler. Your old buddy and former Muskies head coach Thad Matta, or known in some circles as Chad Matta, comes into town. That is tip-off set for 7 o'clock. UC wraps up its regular season as well. That'll be on Sunday against SMU. Final game for David DeJulius. What a great career he's had. 2 other games to keep an eye on Saturday. Actually, more than that, Paul informed me. You have Duke at rival North Carolina at the Dean E. Smith Center in Chapel Hill. Number 8, Arizona, plays at Pauley Pavilion to take on 4th-ranked UCLA. You've got Texas, you said, at Kansas, correct?
Is that at Kansas? I think it's in Texas. It might be at Kansas.
In Austin, Texas.
It might be at Kansas. Let me look it up. Hold on. It is in Texas. But
and what is this, right? Sir Boy Wonder. We all know the high nooners yeah, that's about right. Sir Boy Wonder. High nooners. That's what they drink up there in Miami of Ohio.
Thank you for the super chat, sir boy.
if Miami, they do have a big game tonight because if they win, they'll get into the MAC tournament. If they lose, they might not.
Travis Steele.
Yeah, they got it rolling right now. I mean, they've won 4 in a row. They've won 5 of 7. They looked dead in the water about 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden they have a chance tonight. They can make the MAC tournament. Only the top 8 teams make the MAC tournament, not everybody. So they
Bobcats are in.
Yes, the Bobcats are in.
CJ, I met CJ last night. I did not know CJ, who watches our show regularly. He's in the chat all the time. He's in there again today. He is a basketball coach at Seven Hills.
Oh.
So I went up to UD Arena last night to watch Marymount. They lost to Miami East. And Seven Hills lost their game just before it. And so CJ was kind enough to walk over and say hello and introduce himself. Very grateful that he did. I don't know why in the world him and Reed Mouse are going at it back and forth. I don't know what's going on there. I don't know what's happening. Sir Boy says, the Bobcats versus the High Nooners in the MAC championship game. That's what we need, for sure. That would be outstanding. Okay. I want to get to, some of these rumors. You're seeing now a lot of the players at the Combine who are doing their interviews, not just with the teams. That's the primary, one of the primary things that all the players will do. But here within about the last 24 hours, many of the players now get up in front of the media. Michael Mayer, the young man from just across the river in Covington, one of the great players in the history of Notre Dame football. There's no debate about that as a tight end. He's regarded as the number 1 tight end coming out of college this year. And a lot of people around here would like to see the Bengals take him if he's available at the 28th pick. This is a class that is rich in tight end talent. Casey, I cannot see the Bengals Stop. I can't see the Bengals taking a tight end with their first-round pick. You can get a really good tight end. I know you're not getting them on a rookie deal. But you can get a proven tight end, a guy who can contribute like Hurst did last year, and go find – there are a lot of tight ends out there, in my opinion, that could fit in this offense.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think with tight ends, it's really, really difficult to pick one first overall because of the learning curve that they have to go through. They generally, most first-round tight ends don't have very good production, don't do well their rookie campaign because there's just a lot there. They have to learn the blocking schemes, all the calls from the center to the plays on the offense, what routes to run, where to block. There's a lot there. It's a very it's a huge mental curve.
Yes, it is.
Not saying that it's not also a very hard physical job too. Some of these guys, like Dalton Kincaid, he would be the smallest tight end drafted first overall at 240. I'm sure these teams are going to want to bulk him up a little bit if he can at that. And that might, tank his stock a little bit too. But for a guy like Michael Mayer, I can see them drafting him first overall because of the talent that he does have. I think he's got the skills already to block. I think he's ready as a pass catcher.
No doubt about that.
And I think he's there mentally. I think he's got
Yep.
it. I think he's got all the traits that you would look for to have a production-ready guy, someone that is ready to play, ready to help you year one. That's the whole thing.
Yes.
Are they going to get a guy that's ready year one? Last year they didn't get a guy that would help them year one. I think this year they really need to look in the mirror and say, all right, who's going to help us year one, or who's going to help us this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be somebody who is right now, because look, I know Joe Burrow made the comment about, they talk about the proverbial window of a championship, and he says, hey, as long as I'm playing, we've got a window to win the whole thing. And that's what you want out of your quarterback, to say things like that. I mean, if he said anything different, you'd be saying it's time to ship this guy out of town. But I think it's fair to say that the roster that the Bengals have assembled over the last 2 years, and now with a few tweaks here and a few tweaks there, your window of knowing you're going to have Higgins around, Chase around, Burrow's going to be around, but some other guys on this team, your window is the next 2 to 3 years to win the whole thing. Right. I'm not saying you can't win it after the next 2 or 3 years, because maybe they could do some things with their roster and they draft well and so forth. I'm just saying with the guys right now, and clearly they're not games away. They have been plays away. I mean, you really whittle it down. The Super Bowl 2 years ago, you could pick out, and a lot of games in a lot of sports. But for the Bengals we're talking about specifically here, you could whittle it down to about 4 or 5 plays in the game. The difference between being Super Bowl champs and being a runner-up.
Yep.
Last year, same thing in the AFC Championship game this year. It's maybe fewer plays than that. Maybe it's 2 or 3 plays. Right?
I agree with that.
1, you keep a drive alive. 1, you're able to pressure Mahomes. The other one, you don't punt it to the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're talking your roster as it's assembled now, and again, there will be some changes because of free agents. I get it. But now you're plays away. So you've got to go get the pieces that make up for those 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 plays. Because they're right there. They are right there on the doorstep of being a Super Bowl champion. In every preseason prognostication already for next year, the Bengals, in every single one of them, are in the top 3 or 4 best odds to win the Super Bowl. So you can't be drafting some guy. This is why I'm not reaching. I'm not reaching on any player. Not even if it's a 28th pick in the draft. It's got to be somebody that walks in the door right now. If you made the decision you're going to cut Joe Mixon, and I don't know if they have or they will, if Robinson's sitting there, you got to take him. You got to take him. This guy's a stud, and you need a running back. They can bring P. Ryan back, but you're going to need a stallion.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to trade for one.
I agree with that. I agree with that philosophy, I should say. I don't know if they'll pick Robinson. One, I've seen a lot of just draft talk in general that these teams think that Robinson won't even fall out of the top 10. That they wouldn't scoff at a team drafting him that high. He's that valuable.
Yeah, I mean, he's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
It depends on the need of the team.
Right. And so I do feel like whatever they do decide to do, they can't draft a project again. They can't draft someone that's unknown, that hasn't tested. They got to get someone that's tested, that produced, and fits the character. I don't really think it matters what position it is, honestly, at this point. I don't care if it's a guard. I don't care if it's a tackle. I don't care if it's a defensive tackle, an edge rusher, a corner, a safety. Like, if they get someone that is going to have good quality starting snaps, then I think that's the way that they should go. And that's pretty much the BPA philosophy, right?
Yep.
I mean, the Bengals really should take care of their stuff, their needs, whatever they need to get done in free agency. That's the way to go about it. And that's what they did last year. But instead of going with a guy like Dax Hill, where you already had 2 really good starting safeties, go get a starter. Go get someone that can rush the passer. Go get someone that can.
Well, you got to bring Von Bell back. You can't go. We've talked about this already. You can't go into this season talking about what we were just talking about with 2 brand new safeties with 0 experience. None.
Well, that's
You can't.
That's why I think what the solution there is drafting or not draft. Well, they could draft someone, but I think the solution there is just getting someone, maybe not Von Bell, but just a veteran in the backfield, and letting the rookies sort of get like half the snaps. Just do what the Chiefs did. I mean, they drafted McDuffie. They had the rookie from Cincinnati.
Yep.
And they had a lot of snaps, and they played pretty well.
But then they had the kid Reed who popped off there a little bit, with the whole
Yeah.
thing. I mean, he'd been around the block or two.
Yeah.
He wasn't some, first or second year player.
But that was
you got to bring Bell back. It's not going to cost you a fortune. You got to bring him back. He's only 28, been in the league a long time, great leader, great example. Like you're talking about character guy. I mean,
by the way, that was after they traded or got rid of the Honey Badger. I don't know if you remember that. They had
that's right.
They had the Honey Badger back. I can't remember his actual name. Matthew. And
they just redid his deal.
Yeah, and for the Saints?
Yeah, just redid his deal so they could have some room to maneuver around. The one free agent player that is getting zero pub, from us included. And I read some unbelievable stats on Jermaine Pratt. Now, we knew this guy had a good year. It was the best year by far he's ever had in the NFL. He went back out again here over the last day or two as he is, a pending free agent starting officially on March the 15th. And had said, look, I'm not going anywhere if I'm coming off the field on third down like I did a lot with the Bengals last year. What I did not realize about Jermaine Pratt, he was the 8th highest rated linebacker in the National Football League last year.
Yep.
He had the second best coverage stats to only cornerback and rookie of the year Sauce Gardner in the entire NFL. So it says to me two things. Now, is it a guarantee he's going to play like that next year? No. There's no guarantee anybody's going to play anything next year. Not even Joe Burrow. Like last year to next year.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, Jermaine Pratt or Logan Wilson for the next 3 or 4 years, just based on some of those numbers, why are we having this debate at all? Why is he not getting more, more talk about the Bengals bringing him back?
I would tend to agree with you. I thought there would be more discussion. I kind of gave up on the fact that we were going to bring him back because it just all the signs pointed to them not even considering it, or that they would consider it if the market pointed in that direction. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Like if he came back to them and said, "Hey, I'm not getting market value here,"
right,
they would match someone, right? But I think, kind of like what you said, he's not going to join a team that won't let him play all 3 downs. And it's not that he wasn't one of the best backers in the league last year. It's the fact that he was one of the worst, throughout his tenure with the Bengals, besides last year where it was his contract year. And you could say maybe he just finally blossomed.
Yeah. He
finally gets it, which could be true, but I just don't know. It's so hard to pay a linebacker in the NFL.
I agree with you 100%. I'm just saying
same.
he does present you with some numbers, backs it up, that he's a guy that you could play 3 downs, and those are few and far between linebackers in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm just looking right now, the numbers-wise. He was targeted 60 times for 43 receptions, 408 yards, 10 yards, pretty much 10 yards a reception. 277 of those yards were after the catch. Had 2 interceptions and 4 pass breakups for a league quarterback rating of 76.2. So I think some of that might be a little inflated.
Okay.
Because One of those games was against Carolina, where we just spanked them. He played really well against Pittsburgh the second time. Really well against Kansas City. That one fumble was huge.
Yep, on Kelsey.
From Kelsey. He played really well against Cleveland. I'm just looking here. What the game where he got the interception from Tom Brady, that was a really good acrobatic catch. You know, I wouldn't be upset if we got him, if we went and spent the money on him because of that potential, right? Like, if he is truly a 3-down linebacker and he plays to the same level as he did last year, it's a no-brainer. But I think the Bengals, if they don't re-sign him, it's because they know that he can't play all 3 downs. Like, he'll get too tired or it'll wear and tear on him.
They know their players and their team better than we do. There's no question about it. And I've said on this show many, many times, I am extremely leery about going out and spending a fortune on linebackers. I just think the evolution of the game. Now, you could say, on the flip side, the tight ends in many offenses are starting to become more and more important, and frequently linebackers, not all the time. Sometimes you drop a guy in a slot, safety position, whatever it might be, to try to handle the tight end. There are some great tight ends out there, but not every team uses the tight end in these spread offenses and, you know, empty backfields, 4 receivers, so on and so forth. So I see both sides of it. I would not spend the money, huge money, on a linebacker. But I was just pointing out that is what Pratt had said during the season. And he has said it again here in the last day or two about wanting to be a 3-down guy. So where all that goes. Other news from a combine, talking about players that come out and now do the interviews for the media. And I got to tell you, and I said this to you guys before, and it's not because I'm an Ohio State fan. Maybe the single easiest guy to root for in this draft is C.J. Stroud. I mean, this guy, if you watched him and the way he has handled himself the last 2 years as a starter at Ohio State, his background, if you watched him during the last 2 Heisman Trophy ceremonies, he did not win it, but he was there in New York 2 years in a row. His relationship with his mother, his comments yesterday about how hard it was to leave Ohio State. He acknowledged, yes, there was a lot of money sitting there, but I loved it there. I loved the people there. I loved the staff there. I loved everything about the whole college experience there, not just the football. He's a deeply religious kid. He's the easiest guy in the world to root for in this draft. And there's been a lot of talk about, is he going to be the first quarterback taken? You get into the whole debate about the physical size. Most people feel like the top 2 quarterbacks are going to be Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. Stroud's a big guy, big, strong guy. Whereas Bryce Young, they list him at 6'1". There's no way he's 6'1". They list him at 180. There's no way he's 180. Does that mean he's not going to be a great pro? Of course it doesn't. But I think the trend in the league here after going like this, where they wanted the big guys to, hey, we like the guys that are okay, a little bit smaller, the Drew Breeses, et cetera, the Tuas. And now it's starting to go back the other way with the bigger, stronger guys because you're getting hit and being able to stay healthy and all those kinds of things. But Stroud, he's going to go in the top 5 picks in the draft. And wherever he goes, I hope he does great. His teammate, Jackson Smith and Jigba, came out and said, I not only believe that I'm a top 5 receiver in this draft, he came out and said, I think I'm a top 5 player in this draft. Now, Smith and Jigba missed almost the entire year last year. He got hurt the first quarter of the first game against Notre Dame. Okay? And he was unable to come back and play the whole year after being the best receiver in college football the year before. He is going to do everything at the combine, running routes, the cone stuff, the weightlifting, the interviews, whatever it is. The one thing he's not doing, is it a concern to you, Paul Fritzner, if you're a general manager or Casey McAllister? One thing he's not doing, he's running the 40-yard dash.
I mean,
do you care?
I know you're just never going to find me caring about anything with the combine.
Okay.
I just don't put any stock into it. I understand where some guys may elevate their status a little bit from it, but I just can't care about what's going on here on the field when you've seen what these guys can do in a real game setting. You're telling me you're not going to draft Jackson Smith and Jigba because he's a tenth of a second slow. Maybe it matters more than I'm putting stock into it because I don't put any stock into it at all. But people smarter than me clearly do. So I'm
what do you think, Case?
Something.
Worry you at all?
I'm not worried for him. I think he'll. I don't know. I don't think he's the top 5. I don't think he's a top 5 player in this draft. If you're including the quarterbacks in that equation, because the first 2 right off the board is Stroud, his teammate, and Bryce Young, and then you're
Anthony
looking at
Richardson.
No,
Your guy.
That's your guy, Casey.
Gosh, I can't believe what a big dude he is. I couldn't believe that picture I saw him this morning right before we went on the air.
Yeah.
He is a monster.
I mean, no wonder they compare him to Josh Allen.
Yeah.
They make that comparison.
Right.
I mean, I was surprised too. 240 is a monster. He doesn't look like that.
Well, he did in the T-shirt. I mean, this guy was just sitting at the podium. I just saw a still picture. I mean, his neck's like, one of these deals. Shoulders are out to here. I mean, he's huge.
Someone's going to be happy with him.
Yeah,
I'm
somebody's going to he's going to be high. But go ahead. You were talking about Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, I don't think not running the 40 will hurt him too much. I think some teams will look at it as a injury concern more than anything else. I don't think they'll care how he runs. They just want to see him run, and because he's not running the 40, I think that'll potentially hurt his stock. I don't know if he's planning on doing any of the other drills. If he's doing the other drills, I don't see why he shouldn't run the 40, other than the fact that I just don't see how a 4.5 or 4 the worst possible scenario to me is running a 4.6. That'll drop him significantly. But if it's a 4.5, he's going to be right where he was before on everyone's boards. They're not going to drop him for a 4.5. And
he was primarily a slot guy at Ohio State anyway.
Yeah, it's not like he was known for burning people. He's not a speedster. He's where his value is at is in his film, and you can watch his film and
There's
know.
no doubt. It's unbelievable.
So to me, he's fine. He's fine, but it is a concern that he's not running because of the injury history. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I just want to, and it has to be that deal, what you're just saying, that I think he feels like, okay, I'm healthy, I'll go do all these other things, but if I do run a 4.6, then all of a sudden I got a chance to start dropping in the draft instead of people. That's what I liked about what Duke Tobin said the other day. He said something so interesting when he was asked. He said a lot of interesting things. He's a confident guy. He's done a great job here with the Bengals. But he was asked at the Combine, what are you really looking at? Are you looking at all these analytics? Are you looking at, these times? Are you looking at all those sorts? Just straight objective numbers. And he said the way they do it in the Bengals scouting department, which is smaller than most, if not the smallest, they really lean hard on their coaches when it comes to players in the draft. And what they try to do is, or what they do is, not try to do, is he wants all of his scouts and his coaches to give them an example of who they think this guy is going to be like. So, for example, they'll have all the tape of Vontaze Burfict. Let's just pick his name as a pro, okay? And there might be some guy that they're thinking about as a linebacker in day 2 of the draft, maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th round. And he wants his linebacker coach and the scouts to come walking in and say, hey, we've done a lot of the film work, side-by-side comparison. We think this guy has a chance to be like fill in the blank. So then everybody in the room could go, oh, that kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like you were talking about with Anthony Richardson, I don't know if, everybody else would say, oh, Josh Allen. But that's the goal in the Bengals scouting department. And look, all the numbers, the analytics in the world, it's an old cliche. It doesn't tell you what's in here. It doesn't tell you what's in here. And the game film will show you more times than not what you want to know. I don't know in a college basketball exam. I have no idea if Sule Boom, as an example, over in basketball. I don't know if this guy's got a chance to play in the NBA. I have no idea because of whatever his metrics are, right? His height, his weight, future position. Can he do this? All I know is when the cat steps on the floor, the guy's a player, right?
Yeah. No, you're exactly right.
I want players. And I loved what Tobin had to say about the whole thing. So anybody who watches film on Jackson Smith and Jigba, all you got to do is look at the last full game he played in the Rose Bowl a year ago against Utah. I think he had, 4 or 5 touchdowns and broke the all-time record, 350 or 360 receiving yards in the game. I mean, it was insane what he did in that game. And that's the last time he played a full college football game. But it has to scare you that was the last time he played a full college football game. We've come to learn that Voch Lombardi, who is going to join us today, some of you have seen Voch on the show before. He covers anything and everything that is the Dallas Cowboys. But he also is a big-time NFL draft expert. He's based out of Texas. He was supposed to join us today was he
11.
supposed to, at what time?
11.
Yeah.
He can't join us. The power is out. Really bad storms apparently down in Texas. And so, I asked him, do you want to do it on the phone? He's like, man, I'm trying to preserve every single ounce of charge I have on this phone in case something comes up with his family, whatever the case may be. So he is going to join us, he says, 100% for sure on Monday. Coming up later on, Darren Horn. We've had him on this show before.
Many times now.
Twice.
We've had Wes Miller on this show before.
Oh, my God.
Doing this again.
Brandon Seho lining him up. He was a guy. He got Wes Miller, and he gets Darren Horn. Even last night, after Coach Horn had wrapped up the postgame show with Jim Kelch and Rick Roaring, Brandon reaches out. Darren Horn says, man, I'm all in. So where does that leave us thinking right now? I'll throw it to the Ham and Eggers. Gentlemen.
All right.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
All right. We got some business to take care of here. Let me pull it back up. We have over here the Bengals report brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
productivity.
You're really good at that. You're really good at that. Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. There is a new premium alkaline water out. It's right here in front of me if you're watching on YouTube. Our podcast numbers are way up, by the way, so I want to make sure
Thank you, everyone.
I want to make sure that we are spelling all of this out because our podcast numbers are up crazy in the last month. A lot more people downloading this in podcast form maybe than watching it live on YouTube. I don't know. But the podcast numbers are up, so we appreciate everybody that has downloaded the podcast. You can find all – you know what? Here, wait. Before I do that, let's finish Pawnee. Made in Hamilton, Ohio, Pawnee uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that many other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water that is also the best-tasting water in the world. Visit their website at pawneewater.com. That is PAHHNI water.com, PAHHNI water.com. to see where you can buy this great tasting water. Bet with Betfred, get your coffee from UDF, drink Pawnee water, get your technology solutions from Encore.tech. The other thing that I was going to pub right there during our little ad segment here is everybody's downloading this show as a podcast now. You can go and find Chatterbox Reds, which Nick Kirby is doing daily after every Reds spring training and regular season game. Trace Fowler will be on with him during the live shows on Wednesday nights here through spring training, also after every game. But they are doing the podcast as well. Nick's doing that every night. So if you just want some quick daily 10 to 15-minute Reds recap type update shows. Also, Rebound Rundown had the best day of the season yesterday, most downloaded day of the season yesterday. We're peaking at the right time in March. So thanks to everybody for downloading that. We also have some fun news about the Rebound Rundown, which we will talk about when Thom comes back because I want him to be in on it. But we have some fun news that's coming today about the Rebound Rundown. Yes, Casey.
I just want to say, everyone that's listening to the show right now, please download Rebound Rundown. I want to see it trending on the charts.
It is. It's up 55 spots nationally in the United States. I'm trying to get it
higher.
Trying to get it back to where it was, as the charts update today. But yes, thank you to everybody that's downloaded all of the Chatterbox podcast, Box Lunch, Off the Bench, Rebound Rundown, Chatterbox Reds, The Mental Game, Not Too Picky. All of those are on Chatterbox Sports on the Chatterbox Sports podcast page on Apple and Spotify, wherever you want to get them. But they are all on there, and want to thank everybody that has downloaded the show so far, that has contributed, that's left a review, written a review, 5 stars, all that stuff. But Thom,
Jerome Hunter fan club is getting really bent out of shape about this Sean Miller stuff.
Jerome,
you got to relax, man.
Jerome Hunter fan club is a loyal listener.
And we appreciate him being here. But I mean, why does he have to go down this road with Joey Votto and Nick Castellanos? Yeah, that's crossing the line. We're having some fun here.
I didn't see what he said.
I have been Sean Miller's biggest fan on this show, and you would back me up on that as a Xavier guy.
You have talked a lot about Sean
Miller. I have.
That is true.
And Jerome, it's tired. It's really tired.
Ronnie, we have had Dave Lapham on the show, haven't we?
We haven't. We've had him as a big interview.
Yes,
we
have.
A big interview. Yes, which you can go back and find. There is a big interview playlist on the Chatterbox Sports YouTube page.
But definitely like next season, or we can have him on whenever. But we've established a relationship with him. We can get him on every once in a while. I mean, we've got his partner on, Dan Horn. We get plenty of guys coming on. So yep. I'm sure he would be up for that.
So what I was going to say was the Rebound Rundown. So last night, Trace tweeted out. I would like to get odds on Xavier, UC, NKU, and UD to all make the NCAA tournament. What would those odds
on
be?
making it?
Yeah, if all 4 teams made the NCAA tournament this year. So
wait a minute, I want to make sure I understand you here. You're saying their odds today of making the field of 68?
Yes.
Okay.
So Xavier will make the tournament.
Yes.
One way or the other, whether they win 100%. The Big East or not. Yes, they are in, but UD, UC, and NKU all have to win their conference tournaments respectively. So Trace tweeted at Betfred and said, hey, can I get odds on this as a parlay? And so I quote tweeted it and said the dance with the Rebound Rundown parlay, kind of as a joke. And then Betfred tweeted back, it will be boosted today in the Betfred Sportsbook. It will be available as a parlay.
Really?
It'll be boosted, the dance with the Rebound Rundown parlay, in the Betfred Sportsbook app. I don't know when it'll be live today. I don't know what the odds are. I'm just working off the tweet that they tweeted back at me last night. But you'll be able to go in and bet on the 4 local teams to make the NCAA tournament. I won't even be able to put any money on myself because Xavier's included, and they're the longest or the shortest odds of everybody. But
sure.
But
yes. You got to play it as a parlay. It's a special.
Yes,
right?
it'll be a special. They'll up the odds just a little bit because it's a boost. So it'll be the 4 local teams: NKU, UC, UD, and Xavier. I'm sure it'll be crazy odds because UC to win the American is
it's got to be long
plus 1,500. I mean, this thing could be, as Trace said, generational wealth off a $10 bet. But hey, it's March. Let's have some fun.
You're saying that the parlay is generational wealth.
I'm saying this could be generational wealth off like a $10 bet.
Yes. For the parlay.
Yes.
You know, if you were looking at that, though, okay, realistically, here for a second, we know Xavier's in, so we take them, push them off to the side, right?
Yes.
So now you've got UC, NKU, Dayton.
Yes.
Well, UC of those three would have the longest odds without a doubt, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because of who they would have to beat, you know, and they haven't even started the tournament yet. Whereas NKU is already in the semis. They would probably have the shortest odds after Xavier because they're already in the semifinals of the conference tournament and an automatic qualifier.
Yeah, I'm trying to
They're
go back.
2 wins away.
Yeah.
Everybody else is at least 3 away.
Yes.
Right?
You're right.
Okay. So then the next one would have to be Dayton. Because they don't have some juggernaut team in their conference where, you know, like the American does with Houston. Houston's the number 1 ranked team in the country.
Yeah, VCU is good, but they're not anything to, you know, write home about necessarily, I guess, if you're going from that perspective. Okay, so here we go. The AAC.
I might bet on this parlay.
Cincinnati is plus 1,500, so I'll plug that in.
Okay.
In the Atlantic 10, they don't have Atlantic 10 odds yet, so I can't put that up. And then the Horizon League, NKU is plus 340 to win the Horizon. Xavier's already in. I'm not even going to include them in this. Maybe I'll put them at minus 10,000. And then I will put, let's just say that that's Dayton to win the Atlantic 10 is plus, I don't know, 300. We'll say plus 300. A $10 bet on that before the boost pays you almost $3,000.
$10 bet?
Almost $3,000.
If all 4 make it.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just
My
about to
math
say,
is a little off. But
that's currently just today's game.
that's just today's game.
Yeah.
And they would have to win 3 in the tournament
Yes.
to get there.
Okay.
That's why I say Northern Kentucky. I mean, they're right there.
They're plus 340.
So just below Dayton.
I mean, I'm just guessing.
I know
Dayton's
you are,
odds.
but I'm saying,
Yeah.
I find that, well, okay. All right. I still think that Northern Kentucky after Xavier would have by far better odds than anybody else. If for no other reason, they're already in the semifinal of their conference tournament.
So it looks like Dayton.
And they've split with the team they're playing next, who's the number 1 seed.
Yeah. It can't find it. Doesn't look like it's available yet. Oh, you know why it probably isn't available yet is because it's actually, I'm wondering if maybe, I don't know how they're going to do this parlay. But not everything has been decided yet in the A10 because they still play games tonight. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
There's actually a couple interesting boosts today. Might as well do a small little segment here about these because I think you'll find these interesting.
I'm all for it.
The Betfred Boost Mac Attack. Kent State and Ohio both win is at plus 100. I like that.
Plus 100. So you what? You bet 100 to win 100?
Yep.
Even money.
Even money. And
For
then,
Kent State and Ohio University to win tonight?
Just to win tonight.
Okay.
And then Reds over 65.5 regular season wins is also at even money at plus 100.
All right, let me ask you guys a question.
Yeah.
If you had, I'm not going to say Bill Gates cash or Warren Buffett cash or, Elon Musk cash. I'm not talking about that kind of cash. But if you had a really significant amount of money, okay, where, you could go bet, and I'm going to let you fill in the blank here. If the Reds over-under is what, 65? Is that what you just said?
65.5.
65.5. How much money would you place on that bet?
I think they go over. I'd place a lot of money on it. I think they go over 60.
I mean, would you bet like 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 on the Reds 65.5 over?
If I had Bill Gates money?
Well, I didn't say Bill Gates, but I'm saying you had a lot of money.
Let's say you had money to throw around. Like
A
just
lot.
what's in your imagination?
If you had it, would you make a $100,000 bet on that, where it's not going to ruin your life or change your life if you lose it?
I would.
Sure.
I'm all in on them
yeah.
winning.
If it's not going to change your life if you lose it, yeah. I mean, I think the Reds get there this year. I really do.
I mean, plus it was at minus 130, so it's not the biggest boost, but it is significant that it's a 1-for-1 now, in my opinion. When I look at these, I take into the consideration how much it's being boosted. What are the – because wouldn't I would take that bet if it wasn't boosted. If it was at minus 130, I would still take that. So, yeah,
Problem
I'm
is
all
you just
got to
wait so long for that money.
Well, of course you do, but
Gotta
you
wait
know that
so
when you're
long.
making a baseball bet like that.
That's why I just.
So yes or no? Would you, if you had $100 grand, you'd make that bet on the Reds?
Oh yeah, I think the Reds get there this year. I really
Casey,
do.
would you make that bet?
Yeah, I would make the bet. I think that's a good
You're not a baseball guy, Casey. You'd be betting on something that you admittedly don't know a ton about.
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at their records as the past 10 seasons to kind of gauge how I feel about them going over that 65.5 mark. I think they can do it, especially with the way things have been going. They've bottomed out, so they've got to go up at some point.
That's a reasonable thought.
I think this would be a great time for them to get to that 75, where they're
Okay, now we're getting aggressive. Maybe we get to 70.
70 is the ceiling for the team.
Maybe we get to 70.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's the ceiling. That's what I'm
70 means 70 wins and 92 losses.
That's
correct.
The ceiling for the Reds.
Okay.
Yikes. They might get 75. I hope they do. 75 would be
75. Nice. Nah, come on.
70 though.
Come on.
100 losses. Let's do it.
Come on.
Nobody wants that.
Reds were off, by the way, yesterday. Are they back at it today? They are. They play the Chicago White Sox today at 3:05. Over the weekend, they'll be playing Kansas City. Is that like a renewed rivalry between Kansas City and Cincinnati? Burrowhead.
True.
Burrowhead.
You can take it to the bank. Somebody will be at that game and will say out loud for the crowd to hear Burrowhead.
Of course.
Somebody from Kansas City will say that.
Get into
or
a crowd,
maybe even
Mike.
Cincinnati will say that.
Yeah.
I'll say it. I'll go there myself.
Are you going to go to that game next year, Casey?
No, that stadium was awful to go to.
Ooh. Casey's
Terrible.
out on Burrowhead Stadium.
That-
Casey is out on it.
Burrowhead Stadium, their parking lot was atrocious.
I've heard that a million
It
times.
was bad, and the layout of the stadium, not great. I mean, I understand it's one of the loudest stadiums, but that's about all they got.
All right.
But if I were to go
To the game?
to the game, I'd be yelling, screaming.
At Royals fans?
No, he's talking about the Chiefs.
Oh, okay.
Chiefs
all right,
Chiefs
okay.
fans
All
and
right.
yeah, Royals fans too. It's Burrowhead State. That place is.
You can no
owned.
longer ever say that again, Casey.
Why not?
Because they lost.
Oh, come on, Tom.
Because they lost.
Just because
You
they
cannot
lost.
say it anymore. They lost. That is now
How is that
Burrowhead
over?
lost twice the game tied and didn't win it. It's not Burrowhead.
It's not.
Oh,
It's
come
over.
on, guys.
Some news coming out of Indianapolis. Apparently, Bryce Young, we were talking about him earlier, highly rated prospect. Some say he might be the biggest pick in the draft. Says he understands the questions the league's personnel evaluators might have about his size and potential durability. He says because he has a mirror. I like that. He said, I've been this size my whole life. He says, I know who I am. Said this just a few minutes ago. He said, I know who I am. I know what I can do. For me, it's fair. Everyone can speculate, ask me every question. I'm going to continue to control what I can control, continue to keep working my hardest. I'm confident in myself. I know what I can do. Now, he will not be officially weighed or measured at the Combine until Saturday. Of course, he won a Heisman Trophy, SEC Player of the Year. He's done all that kind of stuff. But he says, I don't really know too much about what's said about me and don't really care. He said, I'm grateful for everyone's opinion. I respect everyone's opinion, but I focus on what I can control. I take the advice and direction of the people that I trust. He says, I've been in the 200-pound range, and that's something that's not been too hard to do. Most feel like he is significantly lighter than that, but we'll find out for sure tomorrow. Guy's a player.
He's a player.
But should there be durability questions when it comes to the size of a quarterback? Drew Brees was really small. He wasn't tall, wasn't heavy. He was in great shape. He was not a runner. And they protected him well, and he became one of the most prolific passers in the history of the NFL. Tua is roughly the same size, a little taller than Brees, but certainly very lean. Now, is he an outlier? Concussions, injuries. Is he an outlier, or is it a fair comparison with Bryce Young?
You know, I don't know if it matters because quarterbacks in general, it doesn't matter how big or small you are. I think they will get hurt if they get hit. That's just it. If you're going to get hit a lot, you're going to get hurt. It's up to the team to put guys around him to protect him. I mean, look no further than just what happened recently with Justin Herbert. He had a broken rib? I mean, the second week of the season. And, yeah, he's a tough dude. He played through it. Quarterbacks have to have a tough mental game, and they've got to be able to play through injury. It's just kind of simple as that to me. I don't look at the height thing until it gets to a point where the guy is having to jump to look over the line. That's a problem in my opinion. Kyler Murray, I don't know if he jumps over to look at over the lineman, but someone that comes to mind, like Doug Flutie, where he was jumping before throwing. And he had some
yes,
okay
he
seasons,
did. He was an exciting player to watch.
But, I mean, that to me would concern me because you got to change your game plan at that point. It's hard to throw over the middle of the field when you can't see over your lineman. But I don't think it's a problem. I mean, I don't see how it can be an injury concern. I think it's a schematic concern if you can't look over your line, if you can't see downfield. But I don't think that should be a problem for Bryce Young. I don't think he's small enough for that to matter, in my opinion.
Okay. Before we get to Darren Horn, and that'll be at 11:30, we don't have Voch Lombardi. My apologies for sending that out, though we were. Again, if you're just joining us, he had a power outage down where he is in Texas, and so he is unable to join us. He will on Monday if the power is restored. This weekend will be Senior Day at a lot of different colleges all over the country. Paul, you look at Xavier's seniors, right? Now help me here. I know you have Fremantle.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah.
But he could come back another year if he wanted, right?
Yeah, so the three guys that are going to walk tomorrow for the Senior Day ceremonies is Jack Nungy, Sule Boom, and Adam Kunkel. Kunkel and Boom are the only two that cannot come back. Nungy could come back. Fremantle could come back. Kiki Tandy could come back. Jerome Hunter could come back. All those guys could come back if they wanted to. They all still have their COVID year. But Boom and Kunkel have already used it, so they will not be back. They're done. They're out of college after this year. Nungy is going to walk in the ceremony, but Paul Scruggs walked twice, so he could come back if he wanted to.
Right.
Yeah, just because he's doing it doesn't mean he's gonna, not gonna come back. Just like the four guys that aren't doing it, or three guys that aren't doing it. And I thought maybe Colby Jones would do it if he knew for sure he was going to the NBA draft. But that's definitely not a for sure thing yet, even though he's only a junior.
Yeah.
Those are the guys. And then DeJulius, Ezekpe, and Rob Finnessy are the three that are going to walk for Cincinnati. And just like Xavier, those are the only three guys that they're going to walk because they have also exhausted their eligibility.
All right, walk me through, though. Let's start with the guys from Xavier. Okay, they're the three we know we're going to walk.
Yeah.
What's the look, there clearly, it goes without saying, there's a big difference between a guy who's been around there for 4, sometimes 5, in this day and age, even 6 because of the COVID year, and maybe he had a medical red shirt and, all those kinds of things. So it's very different when you have a guy who's been around for a long time, but maybe that guy has not been a super productive standout player. He's busted his tail in practice every day, done all the right things, good academically, important part of the program. for these guys walking for Xavier tomorrow night, what do you think the crowd reaction is to each? Clearly, they'll be supportive, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, what do you think their sort of emotional attachment is to each of these three guys? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because for Boom, he's only been here 1 year.
Yeah.
But he's had a great 1 year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think all three of these guys have been massive, obviously massive contributors to this team. Kunkel came in during COVID and it's kind of latched on. It's not Reed Mouse's guy, but a lot of people like him. Sule Boom, he has been unbelievable this year. I mean, he's played to a level where he could be the Big East Player of the Year. He's not going to be. Tyler Kolek will be, but he certainly had a case to do that until about a couple of weeks ago. And then Jack Nunge came in a couple of years ago and has been phenomenal. He's been a massive part of the reason. This is not the end of the bench. This is not, he got 5 minutes. These are three major contributors to Xavier's team and all the upperclassmen, really. I mean, you look at the depth of this team, all these upperclassmen right now are contributing at a really high level. So, yeah, I think that the crowd will be very receptive to these guys, just given how much they've been through with COVID and everything else. And Nunge, the injuries he's had at Iowa, to then come here and have this.
But he's coming back.
Nunge?
Yeah.
Well.
He's coming back. You don't think so?
I think it's very much up in the air. He could. But
what do you think his alternative is? You think he's going to be a high pick in the NBA draft?
No. I think he's old. He's been in college he had a redshirt year too. He's been in college since 2018.
Well, I know, but what kid, if you could continue to play basketball and get a full scholarship, he's probably in grad school by now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? Unless there's some pressing need to go out in the world and start making money or whatever it might be, and maybe he could play in Europe or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
Unless there's some pressing family need to go out. I've heard very few kids, if they had a chance to kind of just keep playing basketball because you never know. I don't think it's out of the possibility that Nunge, if he plays another year of college, could be a pro player.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I've heard some people talk about scouting with Nunge. There have been a ton of NBA scouts at Xavier games here recently, and I would not be surprised if he got a look. I don't think he would be drafted, but I think that he could get a look. The question then just becomes, do you make more money at Xavier doing an NIL deal, or do you go and make more money overseas?
Right.
I think that's where the decision probably comes into play, because he has family from Indiana. He's married. They live here. So it wouldn't shock me at all if he came back at all.
All right, let me ask you this. Of all of the players that are going to walk this weekend for both big schools here in town, for Xavier and UC, I think the most emotional of the entire of all the guys is going to be DeJulius.
I was just going to say, DeJulius has had such a resurgent career after his time at Michigan. He's had such a resurgent career at UC. He's been the heart and soul of that team. He's been the reason that UC's really been as relevant as they are, even to that level this year, that DeJulius has done what he has been able to do this year. So, because Rob Finney's been hurt. He hasn't really been able to get attached to UC as much as the fans wanted to latch on to him, and it hasn't really worked out with how much he's been hurt. Ezikpe hasn't panned out probably as much as fans at UC would like him to have. So now that leaves DeJulius, and I think DeJulius, deservedly so, will get a massive standing ovation on Saturday.
Yes, and even though
Sunday, rather.
Yeah, right. And even though it's a Sunday afternoon game, even though Wes Miller was not there recruiting David DeJulius, he has been the guy, as you point out, front and center, whatever they've asked him to do, be more of a point guard, be more an off guard, whatever it might be, they've asked him to do. And Wes Miller has just raved about him, seemingly in his shows that he does during the week. Heard him a little bit last night, talking about this situation, or whether it's post-game shows. And hopefully DeJulius can have a number of games left in him, besides just this weekend and a game or two in the American Conference tournament. But it's got to be such an emotional day. I was thinking about this last night on a much lower level, But a lot of you out there are going to be able to relate to this because you've had kids that played high school athletics, boys, girls, whatever it might be. I think back, and we joke around a lot about when I used to coach youth basketball and my sons and daughters' teams. Well, last night was the final game because they got beat in the tournament by a lot of the kids that I coached going all the way back to kindergarten. And they play for your youth team, and you're thinking, oh, gosh, who cares about youth sports? Hey, for the overwhelming majority, 99% of us, that's all we're going to get out of ourselves or our kids, right? And you enjoy every second of it. And so to be there last night, and I made it a point with about 15 seconds left in the game, it was very clear they were going to lose. They were down by 4, and the other team was going to the free throw line. And I just found myself standing in the corner of the UD arena by myself and just watching as they went through to shake hands, the line at the end of the game, and looking at these 4 or 5 kids that I coached all the way back, and then looking at their parents who I've lived around my whole adult life, or at least here in Cincinnati adult life. And it's the last time they're going to watch their kid play in an organized, school basketball game. And I know that we're facing that. My wife Polly and me, we're facing that when our son, hopefully it's winning a state championship game in lacrosse. But if it's not, that day's going to come to an end. He made the decision. He's not playing in college. And that's going to be that. And that's a hard day for a parent. That's a really hard day. I was just looking at some of the parents last night, and I thought to myself, man, think of all of the hours and driving to games and going to camps and committing your time as the dad or the mom and watching them play and, getting hurt and whatever it might be. And then it's over. Now, there are a lot of things to look forward to, and you're grateful they're healthy and all those kinds of things. But that's an emotional day. You guys will find out one day.
Well, Casey, pretty soon.
No.
Thom, is Luke going to play in college?
No, he had decided, he weighs 140 pounds soaking wet. They're shooting 90 miles an hour at him as a goalie from me to you. He's just beat up. And he's got this one last ride. There were a number of people interested in him playing collegiately for them, a lot of them. And he's just like, you know what? No. And I'm glad, truthfully, that he's not. I will miss it, but I'm glad he's not. Because he can go be a student just like you. Or like Casey. Although Casey's forgotten where he went to school.
Yeah, it's tough to remember sometimes. It was all just a blur.
I thought maybe you'd come in wearing your Norse hat today.
He doesn't even have one.
He doesn't even
I've
know
got
where.
one.
He doesn't even have.
got
That's
one.
right, Brandon. He doesn't have one.
He wore it after the UC game.
It's a soccer one.
Yeah, he has one.
I got a bucket hat. NKU soccer.
Yeah.
There's been one day you wore NKU stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Brandon's right.
it was the day that mattered.
What was the day that mattered?
One day.
Well, when they
win the Horizon, I'll wear my stuff.
When they win the Horizon, you come in here on Wednesday wearing all your NKU stuff.
Well, I'm going to ask Coach Horn about it because I listened to his postgame show last night. Paul, and you and I were talking about this today. I think they finished the season either 14-3 or 15-3 at home. I think it was 14-3. They had 17 home games.
Yeah.
He was upset last night at the size of the crowd. Now, help me with something here because I don't want to go off the reservation. What is the enrollment at Northern Kentucky University?
Casey.
It's got to be the largest school in the state, right?
Casey.
The largest school in the state.
Oh, I'll bet you it's bigger than maybe not Louisville. I bet it's bigger than the University of Kentucky.
15,000.
All right, well then I'm dead wrong.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
Kentucky's 30,000.
Okay, I'm dead wrong about that. That was what?
NKU undergrad enrollment is 10,800 as of 2021.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not a very big. I mean, it's
so total
growing,
enrollment's
but-
about 16,000.
Yeah, it's growing. It's still growing, I would say,
Okay.
but it's getting there.
And there's a lot of commuter students.
Yes, that's their big niche right now is the commuters. At least it was when I went to school. I went from Blanchester to NKU just about every day.
Right.
Oh, you didn't dorm?
No, I didn't dorm.
It's a beautiful campus over there.
It is.
A beautiful campus over there in northern Kentucky. They in Highland Heights, I guess technically is the town where it's in, but it's a beautiful setup, great arena. But he was upset last night. He brought it up in the postgame show. He was talking with Jim Kelch about the team and the players and the effort and all this kind of thing. And then right as Jim was saying, hey, Coach, congratulations. Wish you nothing but the best. It's a 5th straight time. It's his 4th straight time where they're the only school in the Horizon League to reach the semifinals of the Horizon League Conference Tournament to get to the semis. They've had 20-win seasons. And I always throw out the COVID year. I hate when people say, 4 out of his 5 years, talking about Darren Horn, they've reached 20 wins. I throw out the COVID thing. That's it. It's just even stupid. It's not comparing apples to apples. Every year he's been there, they've won 20 or more games. Paul, you were there last night.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the crowd?
Well, I thought the crowd that was there.
He said the ones. He did go out. Let me correct before I go any further. He did say in the postgame the ones that came were really into it.
Well, that was what I just started to say.
Okay.
The crowd that was there was great. Just wasn't a huge crowd, which, a Thursday night against Oakland, that you would think that for the first round, or it's not the first round, it's the quarterfinal round. I keep saying that. Quarterfinal round of the Horizon League tourney. I thought they probably would fill up the lower bowl. They didn't.
They'll be there for the final.
Well, that's in Indianapolis.
I know, but they'll be there for
They do travel. They do travel pretty well. Indiana Farmers Coliseum, Tom.
Beautiful spot.
We'll see you there Tuesday night.
That is the home of IUPUI.
Ooey pooey.
And the State Fair.
And the State Fair. The pictures of it, you put it up yesterday. It looks like a beautiful place to go watch a game. I'm not saying it's some brand new state-of-the-art place. I'm not saying that. But it looks like a nice venue to go watch a basketball game.
I've never been, so I can't comment one way or the other. But they will be there Monday night and Tuesday night. Monday night semifinals, 7 o'clock against Youngstown State. They split the season series against Youngstown State. And if they win that, they'll go to the final. I can't believe Antoine Davis didn't get that record last night. I can't believe he didn't end as the all-time leading scorer.
His last shot was a three-point attempt.
Right at the buzzer, and he missed it. That would have tied the record.
Yes, it would have.
I'm glad he didn't tie it. Tying it would have stunk. Either break it or don't break it. Because tying it, as somebody that played almost 60 more games than Pistol Pete, and Pistol Pete doing that without the shot clock, without the three-point line, averaging 44 a game in 3 years. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I mean, it's unbelievable. One thing we didn't talk about the other day, speaking of ridiculous, it was the anniversary, and shame on me for not talking about it, because I could be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. That we're never going to see it again. And that was the anniversary of Wilt Chamberlain scoring 100 points in an NBA game. That was in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Did you guys know that? It wasn't even in Philly. He was playing for the Philadelphia 76ers. That game was played in Hershey, Pennsylvania. But can you imagine? We were talking the other night about Damian Lillard, right?
Yeah, the 70.
Right?
70, yeah.
71.
Yeah.
You're still a great game away from 100. A great game, most of us feel like you pour in 29. That's a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It's incredible. 100.
And Wilt wasn't shooting threes.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that nobody will ever score again just with the way that the NBA works now and a lot of these guys that can just sort of go off on any given night, that if somebody got hot and decided, oh, you know what, I'm just going to go out there and score a million tonight. I'm not going to say we won't see it, but it's going to be pretty damn hard to get back to 100.
Yeah, the odds would be ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
But it would take a lot of dominoes to fall. Like everyone being hurt on a team, him being the only one to be able to shoot, or whoever it may be.
You know what it would be? It would be the LaMelo Ball situation from a few years ago. Do you remember that, Tom?
Yes.
Where LeVar Ball basically went out and said, LaMelo, you're going to score I forget how many he scored. It was over 100 points in a game in high school. And they basically did it as a publicity stunt. And he said, here, go out and score 1 million points. And it was all over. It was headlines. It was all over the place. And then once you watched 5 seconds of the game film, you realized the whole game was designed around him scoring 120 points or whatever it was in a game. And all he did was stand underneath the basket. His teammates chucked it up the court. He didn't play defense. He stood on the other side of the court.
Yeah,
so they played 5-on-4 the whole game, basically. Basically played 5-on-4 the whole game, passed it up the court, and then he would just lay it in, and he got 100 and however many points he scored.
Yeah, that's not basketball.
No, and it was just very clearly a LeVar Ball publicity stunt.
Right.
And it worked. Everybody's talking about it. Look
That's
at me.
right.
I'm talking about it 5 years later.
That's right.
And to LaMelo's credit, he's out for the year now, but he's a very good NBA player.
Yes, he is. And it's a shame he's seriously hurt.
He's done for the year. So
the closest any player has ever come to Chamberlain, which, by the way, when he scored 100 points in a game to break the all-time record, he broke his own record. He held the prior record at 78 points in a game. Then he goes for 100.
Yeah.
The only player that's ever gotten 80 or better was Kobe Bryant, who did it back in 2006. But think about this for a second, okay? Chamberlain in this game shoots 63 times. Not one three-point shot attempt. He goes 36 of 63. From a line, he goes 28 of 32. That was 87% in that game. He was a career 51% free throw shooter. So not only are you talking about an unbelievable player, right? But the stars were aligned for an unbelievable player. For a guy who couldn't make free throws and he goes to the line 32 times, he makes 28 of them. Right?
I think that's what's incredible is he was fouled that many times too, and he still put up a game like that. It's very impressive. I don't think you know what? I'll go out on a limb and say that'll probably never get broken.
The 100 points?
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever break.
I do think so. You see so many of these guys.
It ain't gonna happen.
Ain't
gonna happen unless it's some borderline stunt.
Yeah.
But there's no way the NBA would allow something like that to happen.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like you were talking about the ball thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think it'll get close. I think someone will try to.
You think somebody hits 90?
I think someone will get to 90, but I just don't see 100. I really don't.
I do think you make a good point, though, Tom, where even if you think back to Kobe's 81, 19 points is a lot of points. Like, to get those extra 19 points to get to
it's unreal.
To get to 100.
You got to hit 6 threes plus a free throw.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Right?
That's a lot of possessions, yeah.
Think about this for a second, then we'll tie a ribbon around this thing because we got Coach Horn coming up here in a second. But I want everybody to try to put in perspective here a minute, okay? That season for Wilt Chamberlain. Now, you can talk about whether 100 points is ever going to be hit, and we can go back and forth on that all day long. But his stat line from that season, now this was a man 7'1", 270, 280 pounds, back in the early 60s. His stat line from that season, now let's start with the fact that an NBA game is 48 minutes long, okay? NBA game is 48 minutes long. Wilt Chamberlain that season averaged 48.5 minutes per game. They played 10 overtime games, and he did not miss a minute of any of them. Okay, so let's start with that.
Okay.
So the games are 48 minutes. He averages more than that playing time per game, which virtually says he never comes out of the game.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. He averaged 40 field goal attempts per game. 40. He averaged 17 free throw attempts per game. But here are the only two numbers you have to know. He averaged that season 50 points and 26 rebounds per game. 50 points and 26 rebounds per game. If he was better than a 51% free throw shooter, he'd average 60 points a game.
It's incredible.
I mean, can you imagine?
Yeah.
I tell you, and look, as we all get older, you tend to brush guys off to the side. Who is the greatest? Who is the greatest? I don't know how in the world, when you're talking about Wilt and you're talking about LeBron and you're talking about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, it blows my mind of how infrequently the name Wilt Chamberlain is brought up. This cat was unbelievable.
He was very good.
And he was good off the court, too. You guys aren't old enough to remember. He was there used to be, it wasn't Barbara Walters, but it may have been Barbara Walters. They used to do this interview show. She'd put together this special about once every 3 months where it would be like an extended period of time with fill in the blank. Wilt Chamberlain had built this house, and there are some of you who are going to be able to remember this story. It was one of the most unbelievable things I have ever seen. He built this glass house up on top of the Hollywood Hills mountains that had indoor-outdoor pool, and this is before anybody had indoor, where the pool came into the house, and she sits down and does this interview with him, and he had written a book about all these women he'd been. This guy was like, he was truly larger than life in multiple ways. But I've gone into a rant about the great Wilt Chamberlain. By the way, I hope our friend, I guess I upset him earlier because he's not come back. Your good friend, Jerome Hunter.
I'm sure he's still watching, though. He watches every day.
I just made the point. He thought what I was saying in a total tongue-in-cheek manner about Sean Miller. I love Sean Miller. And he got upset, and then he took everything off the reservation by going down the Castellanos Road and starts chanting, "Thom, go look in the mirror." Jerome Hunter Club, come on. You've been a part of this show regularly. Come on back in. Let's let bygones be bygones. Let's let everything go. You all in favor of that, Paul?
Sure.
Well, he's in the chat.
He is in the chat.
He said he's here. He's fine.
Jerome.
See, there he goes. He said and didn't get upset, just talking facts. See, and now why do we go down that road? That's an extra line where you've just taken it with, I'm not upset, to now all of a sudden, bang, right back at it again. Why are we in America going down that road all the time? Why can't we just say, hey, man, you know what? A little misunderstanding. I got a little heated. I didn't like what you said. Didn't like you called me out. Let's just let it go. But no, that's okay. We have forgiving hearts here.
We also have Darren Horn here in just a second.
All right, good. I'm excited about it. Very excited about it.
See it popping up here. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we hadn't covered yet.
The one thing that I would like to talk about that we brought it up in the monologue, and it kind of goes back to it. Does the combine really matter? And that's the kid that ran the 4.49, right?
The guy from Northwestern.
Yeah, the guy that was the fringe player. That is why the combine matters. For players like that who are now a lock for a first-round grade.
He's not a lock for a first-round draft pick. He's not a lock based on a 40. Played in the Big Ten, Northwestern. I'm not going to comment much about him because I don't know anything about him. I don't know what kind of season he had. You able to look that up and tell me how many sacks he had for Northwestern last year in the Big Ten?
He had 6.
Okay, he had a good year. 6 is a good number. It's not a great number. It's a good number.
Yeah, but
is there a Betfred Sports line on whether or not he's a number 1 round draft pick?
I don't think they give out lines for everyone if they're going to be a first-round draft pick or not. But all I'm saying is he was that fringe guy, and this is where players like him, who were not even discussed as some of the top pass
You're
rushers.
Right. You're right, Casey.
He is now there is a discussion there because just the trends in the NFL, you draft an athlete at edge rusher. You don't draft just production and then you test terribly. That's not how the league works anymore. I mean, the best pass rushers are usually the best athletes. So for him specifically, I don't see him falling to the Bengals anymore. If that was even an option, I think he's going to go early.
Okay. Well, that's something to keep an eye on.
But for the discussion-wise, before we get Darren on here, I see that he's getting ready.
Okay.
That is why the draft matters, is because you can have that happen or it confirms what you see on tape, which is ultimately why we had the discussion about Jackson Smith-Njigba.
Yep.
Is, he's not much of a burner anyways on tape, so why do you even need the 40? So, anyways, I got Darren Horn here. I think he's ready to go. If you're ready to have him, Thom.
Okay. I am really excited for this guy because we really like this guy. He's a big-time friend of the program. I wasn't here the other day. I had a daughter that had to go to the hospital down at TCU in Texas, so we were, up all night worrying about her. Thank God everything's good. I missed him the other day. Coach, congratulations on the big win last night.
Still alive, baby. Still alive. It's all that matters in March. Survive and advance. By the way, Trace stepped in big time the other day.
Well,
big time.
You're a sports fan, and so it was pointed out to me that I might end up being Wally Pipp when all of a sudden done, replaced by Lou Gehrig. So
now,
you ever use that on a player? You ever use that on a player who's kind of walking around, maybe nursing something? You ever drop that name on him?
You tell the Wally Pipp story almost every year in coaching, right? Just to make sure they know. Now, the problem is nobody knows who Lou Gehrig is anymore.
right.
We're a couple generations away from that. But my generation was probably the last one to appreciate and respect Lou. But absolutely, you tell the Wally Pipp story to let them know.
So last night you had just played Oakland, your final game of the regular season, and then you go as a 4. They're the number 5. You're going to play them again. Just to learn a little bit something about coaching and about game planning for all of us that love sports and love college basketball. Is that hard to do, or a team so well, they know you so well? Who are we trying to trick here? Let's just go out and execute what we do. What was that preparation like just going into the game last night?
Yeah, that's a really great question, Thom. I think a lot of it depends on where your team is. I would say in general, and this is just my opinion and philosophy, the most important thing in March is, can you be your best and play your best? Whatever that means based on, your personnel and how you need to play to be successful on both ends of the floor. So that's a big part of the preparation, right? And then, from a mentality standpoint for us, we just talked a lot about, especially because not only we play Oakland, but we won, and we made 15 threes, right? It might have been the most we've made all year. I think we may have hit 16 one game, but, that's a lot of threes. And so just, you can't assume you're going to make all those threes again, and just kind of having and building the mentality with your guys headed into the game. Hey, guys, we've got to play this game, right? Not Saturday's game, not the game we played against Oakland, back in January. All right, not the next game. If we win, we got to play this game that we're in right now, possession by possession. And I give our guys a ton of credit, Thom. They really did that throughout the game. Kind of stayed the course and did what we had to do to survive and advance.
I heard your post-game show last night, Coach, with Jim Kelch, and we love Jim Kelch, longtime friend, great broadcaster. And I was listening to it driving back from a high school game up in Dayton last night, and you had made the comment, kind of like you did there just a second ago, about getting your guys playing great in March. What is something, and you take away injuries because you don't know where you're going to be health-wise and all that kind of thing.
Sure.
But as an overall philosophy, and I heard you make those comments about that's what we try to do, is get our guys to what does that mean of how you're trying to get your guys by the month of March to really be playing it? It looks like offensively, especially right now, you guys are doing just that.
Yeah, honestly, Thom, for us, it's a year-round thing here. We talk about what's gonna be championship level. So even if we're in, weight training in the summer and not doing a lot of basketball stuff, are you doing it at a level that's a championship level? Are you giving your best? Is that going to be enough when we need it, at tournament time? And just trying to build that mentality of that's the level that you want to play and compete at. That's what we're working towards, for sure. And then I think the other thing is just, trying to build a mentality with your guys that, hey, this is what it's about, man. This is what it's for. We're going to keep getting better. So some of that during the year, even though you want to be at that level, whether it's going great or whether it's not going great, it's still a mentality of, hey, guys, we're trying to get better. All right, we're trying to be our best at the end of this thing. If you have a great game, hey, guys, that's great. We're not trying to win a championship on January 3rd. We're trying to win a championship on March 3rd, right? And so kind of building that mentality of the year, continuing to get better so that, they kind of feel like this is what they're built for and this is what we do. And, it's paid off so far, and our guys have really responded to it. We're really fortunate. It's my fourth year here and our fourth straight year where we've given ourselves a chance to get to Indy and have a chance to win the championship.
Well, I mentioned earlier, you're the only team in the Horizon League Conference now 5 consecutive years, and I said a little while ago, I throw out the COVID year. It's apples to oranges when you're comparing that kind of thing. So it's now 5 straight years Northern Kentucky has played in the Final Four of the Horizon League tournament. You're going back there this year. A couple of areas of the game last night and looking inside some of the numbers, it doesn't always tell the story, but a lot of times I think it tells you about effort and tells you about how bad your guys want it, is when you out-rebound Oakland. I think it was 34-24, if I'm not mistaken. You get 10 offensive rebounds. And the Brandon kid, his 16th game out of 32 or something you've played where he's had 10 or more rebounds in a game.
Yeah, and scored a little bit last night too, right? Had 13 points for a double-double. And, we feel like when Chris is doing that, he's definitely as good as anybody in our league and, one of the better guys in college basketball. And the offensive rebounding is really important for us, Tom, because as athletic and good as Chris is around the basket, rebounding and finishing, not really a back-to-the-basket type scorer. And so for us to get extra possessions and have an opportunity to get more points and get to the foul line some by offensive rebounding. That's an area that's really, really important for our team. And, oddly enough, we do a better job of it off the three-pointers when we're shooting threes, rebounding the ball. I think we're top 50 in the country, maybe even top 40 now in rebounding our own missed threes. And so against a team like Oakland, who kind of forces you into shooting a lot of threes, it's important for us to get on the glass. And so, I think, and maybe the biggest thing he did was it helped us get to the foul line. We drew some fouls doing it. And so that got us to the foul line, which is not something we're great at with the way that we're built. But I think we shot like 27 free throws last night.
All right, now Youngstown State, you're the 4 seed. They're the number 1 seed. I mean, there was only a 1-game difference. You were 14-6 in the league. They were 15-5 in the league. You split with them during the regular season. You won the first encounter. The second time, you got knocked around pretty good by them. What kind of a game should we expect for you guys against Youngstown State?
It's a great question, Tom. I think it could be a grinded out game. But it could be a game where both teams are really scoring well. They're a terrific team. They've got a guy in Dwayne Cohill, Tom, that if it wasn't for Antoine Davis having literally a historic year in college basketball history, up there with a guy named Pistol Pete, Dwayne Cohill's probably player of the year in our league. Fantastic player, great numbers. Led Youngstown State to a regular season championship where they've never done. Before in this league. And, they're extremely athletic. They're very dangerous offensively. Defensively, they've got the ability to switch at all 5 positions and present some issues there. And so, I think it's one of those games, like a lot of tournament games, that like a big heavyweight fight, right? It could end up being kind of a knockdown, drag out, or, if both teams get it going, it could be a game that has some up and down and has a lot of scoring. I think we're just going to have to see how it goes.
So all the top 4 seeds win in the opening round of the Horizon League, and now you got the top 4 seeds in the semis. Do you like the setup of the tournament where, you get the 1 game at home last night, and now you have a number of days off before you play again as the tournament moves to Indianapolis on Monday with a championship game the next day? You like that setup?
I like it if you have to do home sites to some degree, right? If your league needs to do home sites, I like it. The only other thing I might fight for is, and this was true our first year. Now, we only had 10 teams in the league here, but my first year here, the top 2 teams got to bye all the way to the semifinals. So if the goal at the mid-major level is to try to protect your top seeds, feeling like you can get your best teams to the tournament, the 2 teams that have proved that through a conference season, the top 2 teams going, right to the Final Four in Indy is maybe the only adjustment. But if you got to play home games, I like that. You can earn a home game as a higher seed, that you get it on a Thursday. Then you got a couple days to regroup before you have to play back-to-back on Monday, Tuesday in the Final Four of our league championship.
I heard you in the post-game show, as I mentioned, Coach, and you sounded a little, and I think rightfully so, to be completely honest with you, and I could have misunderstood what you were saying, but I mean, I think it's fair to say that anybody involved with watching your team play, and especially the way you've played here in the last month and a half of the season, would have expected a few more fannies in the seats last night at Truist Arena.
Yeah, and to be clear, I said I was disappointed with the turnout and volume, right, and total numbers. I should probably clarify, the people that were there, diehard Norse.
Yes, and
they
you
were
said that last night. You said you were very happy with those that showed up, right?
Yeah, I thought made a difference. But, we're trying to build something here, right? And, I think we were third and maybe honestly in actual bodies 4th last year of the 4 home games in league play of attendance. I think Youngstown State, and granted they're having a historic year for them, had 5,500 last night. We announced 2,700, probably was really closer to 2,000. And so, again, just I think our guys have earned that. And part of it, to be honest with you, Thom, is we've seen what this place can be, right, yes, on given nights. Yep. And you just go back to this year, even the UC game, had over 8,000 here, at least 2/3, probably 3/4. We're gold and black Norse, and so that's well over 5,000 into 6,000 fans. And so, again, there's a lot going on, but, it's tournament time, and it really felt like our guys, deserved a great crowd. Again, the ones that were here were fantastic and really appreciate them. But, we want to grow bigger crowds and a greater home court advantage. And, we think that matters and creates excitement for everybody. And so, we would love to have more people here, of course.
All right, last thing I want to ask you about, and you're one of the coaches, and I love it, the fact that you don't shy away from talking about March with your players, as you pointed out, even if it's in the summertime working out or if it's in early January, and March is March, and March is college basketball, the biggest in the stage and the brightest stars and the best teams and getting to the tournament and all that kind of thing. But you've forgotten more about it than I'll ever know. You're also dealing with 18 to 23, 24-year-old guys, okay? And so, they turn on the ESPNs every night, and we're going to start watching teams cutting down the nets to get to the NCAA tournaments this weekend. That's what every one of these kids dreams about. I don't care if you're playing at Northern Kentucky, you're playing at Xavier or UC or North Carolina, wherever it is. Do you have to sort of say to them before Monday's game, hey, fellas, listen, to play Tuesday, we got to play Monday? You know what I'm saying? Do you kind of have to rein them in, knowing they're 2 wins away from going to the tournament?
No question. And I think this is probably always true. And I don't know what other coaches would tell you this year, Thom, specifically. And I do think that social media and some stuff impacts, this fight, for Coach. But, for our group in particular, it's been a battle all year long to keep them in the moment. And not only from game to game, as you mentioned, hey, guys, we got to play Monday's game to get to Tuesday's game. But sometimes within the game, right, from moment to moment or timeout to timeout, can we stay focused on what we need to do? Hey, if the last segment went bad, that's okay. We got a new segment going now. We can't do anything about the last one. Let's focus on this one. You'll hear our guys a lot in the huddle saying, hey, let's win this segment. Let's win this segment, because it is a battle, man. It's a battle with 18 to 22-year-olds now to keep them focused in the moment, because at the end of the day, you got to keep making the next play, whether it's a defensive stop or an offensive play until the final buzzer. And so can you keep them focused in that moment? And it's so important in tournament time, especially because, you don't get a chance to play the next day.
Well, Coach, we're rooting for you. We're your biggest fans around here, even if Casey McAllister, who is an NKU alum, doesn't know you guys are playing last night. I'm kidding. I rib him all the time. He knows I'm kidding him.
Yeah. North's up, baby.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you know what? We'll have to have him out for a practice next year. Get him in some gear. All right, so he's got no excuses.
Yes. Oh, this is big time. This is big time.
Darren, that would not be a pretty picture.
Darren, I'll tell you what. Tell Wes Akers. Do you know who Wes Akers is?
Yes.
Tell him that I will run the handheld camera next year. Or not next year. What's your next home game?
It's next year.
No,
next
year.
Yeah.
It'll be next year. We're in tournament site.
Yeah.
I'll run one of the bottom handheld cameras every single home game.
You don't have to make a deal, man. I can just get you some gear. It's okay.
Yeah.
you don't have to work. You don't have to work for it.
There you go. That's the kind of guy Casey is.
Proudly.
He's a proud alum. He's a hardworking guy, so he wants to pay the price. Just like you ask your players, you got to go pay the price. Coach, we thank you for your time. We wish you the best of luck, Coach. We're rooting for you very much. Good luck on Monday night.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
All right, Coach Darren Horn. I mean, the guy is lights out. He's great. And really excited for his team playing on Monday night. Will you be dialed in Monday night, Casey McAllister? Is that going to be an ESPN regular game by then, Paul, since we're getting in heavy tournament action?
Let me check the schedule. I think it's ESPNU on I got it right here.
Okay, but to get you don't have to pay for the plus, right?
No, yeah.
So that's just like
it is
one or two channels after ESPN.
They will be on ESPNU, the 9:30 games on ESPN2. But NKU, because they play at 7, will be on ESPNU.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, they're playing at 7 o'clock. I failed to mention that. There was some talk, would they play at 7, would they play at 9? And that's one of those conference tournaments, and Jim Kelch was talking about this last night on their radio broadcast, that and I love this idea, and I've loved it in the NFL, is reseeding after the quarterfinal round, right?
Yeah.
To reward the teams, who are the higher seeds and have earned it during the regular season. So, but all 4 top seeds won last night. But like I said, you had Youngstown State 15-5 in the league. You had Northern Kentucky and somebody else was 14-6. And so, they're all right there. They're all basically anybody could win it. And we're hoping the Norse. Leaf was in earlier today. Wondering if we would talk about the Norse.
We've been talking a lot about the Norse.
And by the way, Jerome Hunter Fan Club, he and I are good.
Well, that's good.
He and I are good. And I give him tremendous credit for reaching out and basically saying we're all good. Okay. So we're all good. I'm glad. He says the highlight of the night last night was Rick Broering saying, "That's big time," on the radio call. That's funny. All right, so we got nothing but love now between the two of us, and I'm grateful for it. So thank you. All right, fellas, we got about 10 minutes left in the program. Anything on your mind that we've not covered here today?
One thing that we haven't really discussed, and I know we don't really talk NBA a lot.
I know where you're going.
But Kyrie and Luka played really good last night against
82.
The 76ers.
He played.
Together.
Kyrie played.
He did play. But they both played really well. That's what I was expecting. That's how I expect them to play from here on out. Now, I know they won't have games like that every time, but combined 82.
Kyrie had 40, and their shooting percentages were insane for both of them.
They both shot 22, I think. 22 attempts or something like that.
Yeah, but they were filling it up.
Let me see.
Yeah, Luka had 42 and Kyrie had 40. But they still had a number of guys that still chipped in. I mean, they scored 133.
Yeah.
So that's what they're looking for. I tell you that, and we don't talk a lot about the NBA, but now with Kevin Durant in Phoenix, now with Kyrie in Dallas, Steph Curry, hopefully he comes back because the way they were playing earlier in the year, right?
Yep.
That Western Conference playoff has got a chance to just be unbelievable. Now, the Lakers look like they're not going to make it now. Not that they were anyway, but you hate seeing the playoffs come without LeBron. Whether you like LeBron or hate LeBron, he's one of the top 5 players of all time in the history of the league. And the playoffs are better when he's playing. Even if you're rooting against him, they're better when he's playing. And now he's got to wait a number of weeks to get a second opinion on his foot. Looks like he's going to be out for a long, long time. And it's really a shame. But would you rather watch the Western Conference or the East? Because the Eastern Conference has some good teams and good players too. Let me ask you one question, Paul.
Celtics.
Because you're a big basketball guy.
All
okay?
right. Yeah.
And I have always tried to follow this. I never realized until recent years, and I don't look at it a lot because I don't follow the NBA a lot. But I used to always love to try to do it while I'm sitting and watching a game, and I wasn't smart enough to be able to stay up with it, about when players are in the game and what's the score while they're in the game, as opposed, you know what I'm saying?
Plus minus.
Right. So now they're keeping that all the time, and they have for a little while now. I've never been a big James Harden guy. I think he's an incredibly talented player. He can do a lot of things. But I'm looking at last night's game against Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay, he plays for Philadelphia. All right? You look at when Kyrie, Luka, when they're in the game, plus 20, plus 22, all this kind of thing, right? Harden scores 29, but he's minus 21 in the minus category. How much stock do I put in that number?
Yeah, I don't know. I've always gone back and forth on that because plus minus in hockey is a big deal. But I guess when it's that pronounced, if it's like you were minus 4 on a night, you were minus 5 on a night.
4 or 5, big deal.
But when you get up to like the 20s, it's like a correlation causation thing here. When you get up into a number that high, then I would put some stock into it. But the plus minus in basketball is not the first number that I look at. When I'm going into a post-game box score, unlike hockey, you're not going in there immediately and going, what was the plus minus? I look at it generally because if a player is consistently minus 10, minus 11, minus 10, game in and game out, and maybe that player shouldn't be on the court. But I'm not going to go in there every game and put a ton of stock into it. I guess I'll put it that way.
Okay, well, this year, just to try to put it in perspective.
Sure.
Okay. In the real plus minus, they call it, right? Okay, you've got Jason Tatum having an unbelievable year in Boston, right?
Yep.
He's number 1. The kid from Philadelphia, the center, is number 2. Embiid. LeBron. Jokic. Luka. Lillard. Jaren Jackson of Memphis. Donovan Mitchell of Cleveland. Kyrie Irving. Anthony Davis. There's your top 10. So, Harden ranks ahead this year anyway of guys like Steph Curry. And again, I don't know how much stock to put in it or not. All right.
We have a cherry on top here.
We have a cherry on top. Let's have it, boys. Presented by our good friends and great sponsor, United Dairy Farmers.
So this comes courtesy of Rob Anderson, who is a fantastic SID. He's Creighton's SID. And he tweeted this out. Let's put into perspective Pistol Pete Maravich's NCAA scoring record. He scored 3,667 points in 83 games over 3 years. If you took the nation's top 83 single-game scoring performances in the last 3 years in college basketball, in 21, 22, and 23, you would combine for 222 less points than Pistol Pete. That is the highest scoring game from one player on any night over the last 3 years. The highest 83 single-game scoring performances. Wouldn't even come close. You would come 222 points
That's
short.
unbelievable.
That's really unbelievable.
It really is. And that picture wasn't the Pete Maravich look. That clearly was a picture of Pete Maravich at LSU. But his look was the long – he kind of looked like that character from Scooby-Doo, Shaggy. You know, he had the curly, long hair, kind of a Beatles cut to it where it kind of hung down his face a little bit, the floppy socks. I saw him play in person, and it was just the guy was with the ball was insane. Insane with the ball, what he could do with it. And obviously he scored a lot. All right, lock of the night or lock of the weekend before we get to boxed lunch. Casey, have you thought about it? Or are you still, sort of excited that Northern Kentucky's actually playing in the Horizon League tournament?
I'm going to attempt again on NBA.
Oh, my God. You guys are like 3-11.
Yeah, it's been really rough.
Paul lost again last night, bets the under, continues to bet the under on Mick Cronin's Bruins.
It's true.
All right, go ahead.
I'm going with the Phoenix Suns. The cover.
And who are they playing and what's the spread?
They are playing the Chicago Bulls. And I'm going to double check the spread here real quick. I think it's -6. It is gone down to -3.5. I like that.
Gone down from 6 to 3.5 in how long a time frame? When's the last time you looked at it? Like this morning?
Yeah, this morning.
Did they announce Durant's not playing?
I'd still like it anyways because the Bulls also stink.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. Okay. Paul, you want to do a game tonight? I mean, you can pick one over the weekend.
Yeah, so I'll give you the 3 that I had from the weekend from my show, and I kind of project the lines for the weekend since they're not out yet. But tonight I took Miami +8, the Red Hawks +8.
On the road.
Against Buffalo. They got to win. They know that. They've been playing well. Take +8.
Okay.
I don't know. Give the hometown team some love. Tonight's slate's terrible, so might as well. I don't know if I love this. But I'm going to do it because it's pretty much a must-win game for them. I'm going to take Villanova +5.5, but I don't love it. I think UConn could run them out of the gym. But I'm going to take Villanova +5.5. And then Sunday, Reed, don't let me down.
Hoosh?
The Hoosiers, -3.5 against Michigan.
We love the Hoosiers.
So that's the weekend.
All
but
right.
the Saturday and Sunday, we don't have the lines yet. I'm just kind of guessing what they'll be.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Last time I checked, didn't the Hoosiers just get beat on their home floor in Bloomington by 30 the other night by Iowa?
They did. That'll happen, Tom. That happens to the best programs. You don't hang banners on the wall unless you take a thumping at home.
It's true. Got to earn it.
We're looking towards the neutral sites. We don't like playing at Assembly Hall.
Well, I think that's going to be – it's funny you say that because I've been saying it to Paul all year long. I get tired of opening. It's not every game. There are outliers here and there, but I get so tired of looking at every box score in college basketball games where the home team's shooting 15, 20
free throws,
more free throws than the other team. I'm just tired of looking at it. Go play on a neutral floor and let's see what happens.
I agree.
But Indiana getting beat in Bloomington by 22 is a joke.
I mean, Iowa hit 15, 16 threes. They do that from time to time.
I thought of you last night, Tom, because of that very thing you just said, and I'm going to dig up to make sure that I'm not inaccurate. But there was a stat that was read last night for that Purdue-Wisconsin game, which was at
Madison.
It was at Wisconsin. The problem is just digging up this. I'm gonna find the box score and I'm gonna have a little small. We're gonna do a quick game of you guess the free throws by each team.
Okay,
but you're gonna have to give me a second to get there. It would not surprise me having
not looked at it though. Now Purdue again would be the kind of team for me that I would just predict would be an outlier on some of those numbers because they have the best big man in the country who goes to the line a lot.
Yep.
They are a rugged, physical, pound the glass kind of a team.
They get it into the paint every possession.
Right. So
how many free throws do you think Wisconsin shot last night?
Well, the final score was what, 63-61?
And keep in mind when they brought up the amount of free throws that Wisconsin shot, it was largely because Purdue at that time, which we can get into this debate either on Box Lunch or another time, they were fouling with 15 seconds left when they were up by 3. Which
it was 10 seconds left, and they fouled the guy that hit a 3 last year against them. So
whatever.
I think
there was they fouled in my mind way too early, but nonetheless, they fouled twice. So I think Wisconsin had shot 3 or 4 free throws at the end of that game. But when the game ended, how many free throws do you think they shot?
10, 12, 14.
They shot 5 as opposed to Purdue's 18, and they were at home.
5.
So it went against your
like I said, there are occasional outliers.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
You know what I was just thinking about when you guys brought up that Pistol Pete Maravich stat, which blew my mind. That's like when you hear stats about like Barry Bonds and stuff like that. Just blew my mind.
Yeah.
UK is undoubtedly the toast of the SEC, right? LSU has had the 2 most
What
famous.
did you just say?
UK, Kentucky's undoubtedly the toast of the SEC in basketball.
You mean historically?
Yeah.
Oh,
right.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, of course.
Right. LSU has had probably the 2 most famous college basketball players to come out of the SEC.
You're right.
Pistol Pete and Shaq.
Yep.
It's just
Yep.
interesting.
Yep. You're right.
They don't have many great players down there, but when they
Ben
find
Simmons.
them, when they find them, they find them.
Ben Simmons, is he still playing?
Yeah.
Or is he playing?
Kind of.
Kind of. Doesn't shoot a whole lot. He dribbles. He's out on the floor.
There's a lot of dribbling.
But he's playing, though.
He does play.
Okay. All right. Good enough.
He is playing, though.
All right, boys. Well, time for box lunch. Casey, Paul, Brandon, everybody, thank you very much for all the help. Vach will be with us on Monday to talk a lot more about the draft. I'm sure he'll have a lot of insight on the tight end thing because the Bengals are meeting with all the tight ends yesterday and again today, and then they take the field tomorrow for all the stuff that they do at the Combine. So, gentlemen, great weekend to you. Here we go.
Sorry about your Warriors last night.
Me too.
It's tough.
They were up 22-17 and then went into a little funk on offense in the third quarter and tied it late, 2 minutes to go. And the other team made their free throws, man. I mean, they didn't miss. It's a good team.
UD's a great arena, too.
It's the best.
I love it.
The best.
It's the best.
Love that place. Mm-hmm. All right, boys.
See you, Tom.
All right.
I must admit, I didn't think much of this show the first time I laid eyes on it. Seemed like a bunch of stiffs wasting nice
the worst
microphones.
trade of all time happened back in 1803. Go ahead. Napoleon Bonaparte traded the Louisiana Purchase for $3 million. Napoleon, what happened? Half the country for $3 million. You can't even get Tucker Barnhart for $3 million.
Then I came to realize these guys are funny.
And Justin Fields have identical stats the last 5 weeks about throwing the football. This guy, okay,
And
folks,
are
is a
some of the
fidget
best
spinner.
gamblers I've come to know.
If you're betting on USC and or TCU, let it be known you are a square.
TCU is going to hammer this team tomorrow night.
I hate to hear that.
Tomorrow
when we come back
afternoon.
in here on Monday, you're going to be happy as a lark because USC lost, but you're going to be wrong about TCU.
Get ready for the most useless hour of your day. It's time for Boxed Lunch, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Now, Casey, run that track.
Seems appropriate.
Met a man wearing a t-shirt.
I'm gonna let it run for a minute.
Yes, for lovers. Had a Bible in his left hand and a bottle in the other. He said, all you're really given is the sunshine in your name. We both started laughing when the sky started
get to the
to
chorus.
rain. Get along on down the road. We got a long
All right.
way to go.
That's good
Scared
enough.
to live.
Don't know if I love that song, but it seems somewhat appropriate for just the day. The fact of the matter is, you know, Tom's got a bit. Chat's not happy. Paul's trying his best just to be in the middle of the whole thing and not irritate anybody.
Puts me in a tough spot.
It does put you in a tough spot.
Puts me in a tough spot.
It puts you in a tough spot, Paul, because, you know, hey.
I mean, I try my best. I try my best.
Oh, man.
I try my best.
And the thing is Tom, it really, he's not even serious about it, but then it's so much that it starts to feel like it is serious. So
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those weird, I don't want to say it's a weird bit, but it is one of those situations when you're at some kind of
family gathering and somebody brings up something that you did, and it's kind of funny, and then they bring it up again, and you're like, man, maybe I did irritate them. But after like the third or fourth time, you're like, okay, I think they did take this really personal. And I don't know if I don't know. We're not in Tom's mind, so maybe he's really upset that he can't figure out.
Full disclosure, we've asked Sean twice. One time it was a technology problem. This past Monday was a schedule conflict, and then Tuesday, Wednesday were travel days. Today, I didn't follow up about today, so it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, I don't know what more I can say here.
I love the Travis Steele plug that you threw in there. He's like, we've gotten 2 out of the 3.
Travis
Big
Steele.
coaches in here. And Paul just digs in there like, Travis Steele?
We have no country fans apparently in the chat. Not many. And I'm not even saying that I guess there could be a country fan that doesn't like that song. Sean Spurlock, as we've talked about this, big country fan. He wants to listen to country out on the golf course, or probably listens to country whenever he listens to music. I am not that guy. I don't like it all that much anymore. I think I grew up with it, but yeah, just I'm not a huge fan of it. And Reed has a bit. Do you want to share your bit or not?
The most absurd. So people that like country music, and I like some country. I like rap more than country, but I like Zach Bryan's one of my favorite artists right now. People often are like, oh, that rap shit. You can't understand what they're saying. They're saying ludicrous stuff. There is a popular country song about 10 years ago from none other than the Luke Bryan that starts, I've got that real good, feel good stuff up under the seat of my big, old, jacked up truck. Rolling on 35. Like, that's just absurd music. Or Florida Georgia Line. Hammering a nail, stacking them bales. I'm dog tired by the 5 o'clock hour. I'm ready to raise some hell. That's absurd music, guys. Like, that's not good music.
But it's catchy. It's like Luke Bryan leans into it. He knows it's absurd. One margarita, 2. It's like, it's easy. It's catchy.
Red Solo Cup.
I don't think anybody should.
It is absurd music. So you're right. If you just accept that it is absurd music, it is pop music for people that for white people. It's pop music for white people is what it is. They're going very after a demographic that doesn't want to think when they listen to music, which is okay. Sometimes art can be that way. You can listen and watch TV shows that don't want to make you think. That's okay. But don't act like it's just some superior music to hip-hop or pop or anything. Just accept it for what it is all I'm asking. Some country music is great. Tyler Childers, Zach Bryan, Old Willie Nelson, the old stuff. It's good stuff. Luke Bryan.
Sorry. We were joking outside about, oh my gosh, how tired is this trading T. Higgins stuff. It's so sports talk radio. It's so ridiculous. They're never going to trade T. And Sean looks at you and goes, you seriously, Bengals fans wouldn't take 2 first-round picks for T. Higgins? And you got on his ass a little bit, if we're being completely frank. You were not happy at all with the sentiments that Sean was trying to share. And I was starting to think to myself, 2 first-round picks? So I did a little digging. I believe that if you get 2 first-round picks, then you do it. I'm looking at these names from previous years, and there are stud after stud after stud after stud at the wide receiver level. And the fact that you could possibly get a top-level lineman and a wide receiver. If you could get Jackson Smith and Jigma and the top tackle in the draft.
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs. And listen, If someone offered the Bengals 2 first-round draft choices for T. Higgins and they accepted, I wouldn't be upset. I don't think there's a right or wrong way in this conversation. I got in Sean's ass because he was like, listen, I can't believe Bengals fans. You trade away T. Higgins, get some linemen. That's how you win in the NFL. And I immediately came back and said, we've been winning in the NFL just fine. We went to the AFC Championship this year, went to the Super Bowl a year before. Don't tell me that that's how we start winning ball games in the NFL when we're literally already doing it. We have a product that isn't broken. Why are we trying to fix it? T. Higgins is elite at his position. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are elite. It's the best package between quarterback and weapons in the NFL. And I'm not going to be quick to tear that apart, regardless of what you give me. Like I said, I don't care if we trade T. Higgins for 2 draft choices. That seems like a fair deal. But I'm also not going to entertain the fact that we'd be idiots for not taking that deal. We're already winning games in the NFL. We've got something that is proven to be true. Let's keep riding it because we know it can win. I'm fired up today, as you can tell.
It's very fair what you're saying. And then Sean really takes that knife and twists it in the side and says, well, why haven't you won it all?
Oh. Yeah. I mean, it's been 2 years in. I don't know what to tell you. It's been 2 years. He said, why have you been losing those games? And he's right. We lost the Super Bowl because we couldn't protect Joe Burrow. It was evident that part of the reason that the offense stuttered in the AFC Championship game was because we couldn't protect Joe Burrow. But I think that there's other solutions to getting to protect Joe Burrow. And if you've got an elite guy in T. Higgins, I'm not so quick to push him away. And then he goes, this is what you always say, this is what he was getting at, is, it's a Cincinnati fan. Cincinnati teams just hold on to guys forever. And then you start bringing up, Ryan Ludwig or Homer Bailey. T. Higgins is in a different stratosphere than the names that you are bringing up. T. Higgins is elite, a top 10 receiver in the league.
Sean brings up another point in the chat. Says this Bengals, they've been putting up big points in these playoff wins too.
I don't know what to tell you.
Sean's out for blood today. Well, I might just take my headset off and let him come in here and sit on the microphone and talk through this. But I'm going to let the Bengals fans breathe today. We've had some tensions in the air around this office today. We just need to let things maybe
something going on out there
mellow
too,
out. No, it just got to where where between Adam Kunkel's take and between the fact that Reed was just not trying to listen to anybody tell him that they should 100% trade T. Higgins. He was off. He just reenacted it right in front of your eyes for you. So we won't do it all again. Really quickly though, I'm going to make every single person in this office say they are going to keep or trade. You get a top 10. We'll say you get the 10th pick of the draft and you get the 27th pick of the draft for T. Higgins right this second.
Like this year. We will have three picks in this.
Three first round picks in this NFL draft. Go.
Yeah, I would take it for 3 picks. For 3 picks in this draft, sure.
You don't get 3 picks. You just get the 2 plus the 1 you already have, just to be clear.
Yeah.
All right.
Have 3.
We're drafting 3 of the first 32.
Yes.
But like I said, if it doesn't happen, if someone comes and gives that offer up and they say no, I'm not mad at it either.
Okay. So you're trading?
Yeah. If you give us a top 10 and the 27th, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too. So that's 3 for 3.
So in that, go ahead, Brandon. Sorry, it looked like you were gonna say it.
I'm keeping T. Higgins.
Okay.
In that scenario that you just mentioned, the only possible team that could do that is the Eagles. Would I trade T. Higgins to an NFC team? Yes. For 2 picks? Yes. I think I would.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean,
but I also am strongly believing that I think the Bengals can figure out a way to make Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins all work.
Yeah,
I don't think it's beyond reasonable doubt to think that they can get these 3 guys long term.
Well, here's the reality, and this is where maybe the traditional sports talk radios would never admit this or say this out loud. None of that's happening, so we don't need to really talk about it. We have an opportunity to go to Indianapolis, guys. I don't know if you've heard of the Horizon League tournament. I'm not going to do the bit that has been bitten off with Casey McAllister not knowing whether or not his Norths are playing here nor there, because I know he knew that. He knows damn well that they were playing. But the question of the day is, do we round the troops up, as they say, on Tuesday if the Norse find themselves in the Horizon League Championship and head over to Indianapolis? It's an hour-and-a-half drive.
I was going to commend you, Trace, because you have been, out of all the Chatterbox people, you've probably been the second biggest NKU fan this week, ahead of Casey, but behind Leif Erikson.
Right.
And I just want to commend you. I mean, you're hopping on the bandwagon.
No, I'm trying to get them fired up. There's only so many teams around here that have a real legitimate chance to go to the tournament.
Tuesday would be the finals.
Tuesday would be the final.
Yeah, 2 wins away.
They're in the quarter right now, and then the semis.
Semis.
So they
win on Monday.
Final Tuesday.
Let's go. If they win on Monday, we're going. You can mark me down.
Because there's a thing. There's a thing at the bottom of this list that we'll get to here in a little bit called the Rebound Rundown or Dance with the Rebound Rundown. Because at the end of the day, I'm just going to let you know right now, Dayton's winning their tournament. Dayton is winning the A-10 tournament. I know we don't know what the odds are on that. I am telling you, they are winning that tournament. The only one
most talented team
that would be left of all of that needing to have happen is the UC Bearcats, which we know. That's a tall task. But I'm just going to remind everybody that you can do something called hedging something.
Yeah.
So if we can get past Tuesday with the only, well, it won't be the only thing. We're still banking on Dayton. Does Dayton and we'll call it the Bearcats, do they both have their championship on Sunday? I believe that is the case, correct?
Yeah, both A10 and AAC play on Sunday. A10's usually at 1, and the AAC, I think, is right around there. Because the Big Ten plays at 3:30, and they always, it's like the selection show is going on while the Big Ten winner is either still cutting down the nets,
right,
or they're in the locker room or something, and the dudes are sweaty with their undershirts on. And, oh, we're going to Des Moines. What? I've wondered if the Big Ten title game went to double overtime. Like at that point,
happens, right?
At that point, we know who's going to, because what the committee does is they just make 2 brackets and they say, okay, if this team wins, here's what it looks like. If the other team wins, here's what it looks like, and then it goes from there. So at that point, do you just sit there in the studio and you fill time for a half hour till the game's over? I mean, we know what's going to happen. It's not like the Big Ten title game's making a difference unless like Minnesota won it or something.
Right, like the team that's not going to be
yeah,
in it, right?
Yeah, a bid thief.
Like Ohio State making a run at it. Then you got to sit back and wait. What are the odds on that?
Yeah, what was that?
That ain't happening.
Yeah, that's not happening.
All right, so we'll make the declaration right now. Like the stamp of approval. We're going to find a way to go to Indianapolis. If the Norse can find a way to beat the number 1 seed, correct, Paul?
Yes,
they got to beat Youngstown.
They've done it once already this year.
They've done it once already. Youngstown was in a proverbial dogfight down to the very end against Detroit Mercy, who wasn't very good this year on their own home floor. So it's not like the Penguins are invincible. The only we'll talk about that later with the rebound rundown in regards to what UC's chances are. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
I say if you go to the championship game, a unique venue, the State Fair of Indiana, you walk into the arena right next to the Billy Goat exhibit or wherever they go for the State Fair.
I will not go past the Billy Goat exhibit.
They're not there right now because the State Fair is not going on.
Okay.
But cheap tickets, sit where you want to go, sit wherever you want to sit pretty much. It's not like going to the Big Ten or whatever. That's fair. But it's a quick drive, easy drive. 4 years ago, they had it at the Pistons' brand new arena when Drew McDonald hit that buzzer beater shot.
Yeah.
That was electric. And that arena is nuts.
Frankie. We got a guy Frankie in the chat says, who are these clowns, baby?
Welcome.
Welcome. It's the most useless hour of your day. Sponsored by Betfred Sportsbook. It's called Box Lunch. We're glad to have you. Hope you stay. And if you like it enough, come back on Monday. There's a really good chance by Friday you'll be in the Discord. That's how this whole thing works. And then you get looped in, and next thing you know, you'll be watching Chatterbox Sports probably every single day. And as many people in the chat will tell you, it's kind of like a drug. You know, there's some good things about it, and maybe there's some bad. I don't know sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two.
I just know Frankie Aravalo's auntie makes the best capicola. Got to make some capicola.
Top 4 or the field? I love this topic. Most of the time when we talk about college basketball, or probably better to say, when we don't talk about the NFL or talk about football, our numbers don't do as well. But today, Reed's had enough. We were doing the list. Reed said, I don't want to talk about football. I want to talk about college basketball. College basketball is important right now. It's fun. Let's talk about it. So that's what we're going to do. Top 4 or the field is relatively simple. Would you take the top 4 teams currently that Reed is going to give you in just a second?
Right.
Or would you take the field to win the national championship? We'll start and let Reed list those off because I don't remember off the top of my head and I don't want to butcher it.
You could do top 4 or top 5.
Do the 4 that you said.
The 4 that I said were who I think is going to wind up being the number 1 seeds. I don't think Purdue's going to wind up being a number 1 seed. I don't know.
Frauds.
I don't think they're a top 4 team. Regardless,
they're not a top 10 team.
You get Alabama, UCLA, Kansas, and who's the 4th that I'm in? And Houston. You get those 4 teams, or you get the field. If you got that at even money, you can take the top 4 teams or the field. Who are you taking? Paulie?
I would take the field there because there is just so much parity this year in college basketball. I think I would take the field. What are the odds?
Even. We're giving it even.
This is the Betfred Sportsbook sponsored by Chatterbox
great teams.
Sports
you're
made up
Purdue
line.
would be a top team, Texas.
I would take the field there. I just think that too much can happen in the NCAA tournament. It's too even this year. We've seen some of these top teams lose weird games. You know, Alabama's played stinkers. Houston's played stinkers. It's not like these dominant teams that have in years past not played stinkers. I'd take the field. Don't love it, but I would take the field if you're putting a gun to my head.
Taking the field.
Just fun news for Frankie. Thinks we're hating on Ohio State. Frankie, I want you to go find another man out in the sports biz that has a future. Okay, like I do. I put my money where my mouth is. I have the Ohio State Buckeyes winning the national championship this year. I want you to go find another man that is willing to go out on a limb and put money towards the Buckeyes winning the whole thing. I got money on it. Yep.
From when?
I don't know, Paul. Whenever Paul said the other day, about 3 weeks ago. This is about 3 weeks ago. To be fair,
this was at their bottom.
This is trying to be fair to Paul here. When he said it, I laughed out loud. I was actually on my Disney.
You laughed out loud, and then you wasted money on it.
Sometimes you do that. That's what you do with gambling. It's entertainment. You got to sometimes throw some money back to the books. You know, when you take all their money like I do, sometimes you got to give a little bit of it back. That's bad. That's a bad.
Tempting fate.
You're the jinx guy too. You're the jinx guy.
Yikes! I'm very nervous for Trace's health now. Just very nervous.
I am perfectly fine.
Losing streak.
Perfectly
fine.
Fine. Could be.
A good time of the year for that.
But just saying, Frankie, I do have a future on Ohio State winning the whole thing. Don't plan on getting that money, but just in case it happens, I will be. I don't even know how much it's worth. It's not worth enough to brag about. Where are we at here? That was bad mojo. I apologize to the gambling guys. I know better. I know better. I've knocked on wood. I don't know if there's anything else I need to do. I feel like I'm Joe Boo in Major League right now. I'm like, I got to figure out a way to make sure. I think I'm going to place like 5 $1 bets tonight and see how they go before I let the reins come back.
What would you take, field or the top
I'm
4?
Taking the top 4. I think we do this every single year with college basketball. And I say every single year, most years. There was like one year in particular with Kentucky when they were undefeated and everyone was like, oh, no one's going to be able to beat them. And no one really ended up beating them. Or not the year they were undefeated, but what was the year?
2012
the year they had
Davis. Anthony Davis, 2012.
2012. Mm-hmm. And everyone was like, oh, they're really good. Outside of that year, I think every year everyone sits around and they say, anyone can win it this year. It's an open field. There's really anyone can do it. And then you go back in recent history and most of the top teams win it all. Now, I'm with you, Paul, that those 4 are a little dicey. I just believe in Houston. I think they're the best team. I know they play in a league that's not very good. However, it's in Houston. I seen Sir Boy said it's going to be rigged. I don't think it's rigged. But
Nance's last game, he's a Houston grad.
Okay. Then there you go. The storyline and the script
it's
been
in Houston.
written.
Houston is not winning the national championship.
Ooh. So are you taking the field or are you taking the 4?
I'm taking the 4, and Kansas is going back-to-back.
Back-to-back?
Ooh, wow, okay.
For me, I think I'm taking the 4 too, because when I imagine, I try to brain and image what's going to look like, who's hoisting the trophy at the end of the year. It's one of those 4 teams. Like, whenever I imagine it, it's one of those 4 teams, except for when it's Muskies versus Hoosiers in the championship.
It's true.
So I'd take those 4.
All right.
What would be the actual odds on that? Like, if they
usually offer something to that effect, like would you take this team, this team, and this team? Yeah, they'll list it, and then they'll say, this group or the field. Usually it's somewhere around even. Yeah. Usually they get it somewhere around even. Yeah.
Chat, we have a situation on our hands. We had a place we were going to go to watch these games at. Not going to call out the place we were going to go to, but did a site visit, did all the stuff that you would traditionally do to make sure that you were going to, basically do a watch party or something there. Well, turns out they have too many quote-unquote events in March to where they don't really want to take this on. All right, that's fine. But we're in a predicament now to where we need to do a watch party. We're going to do one. I don't know where yet, but I'm open to suggestions. I'm being dead serious when I say this. If you put someone's name in the chat, we will consider it significantly. And second of all, we might reach out to them today. So,
well, I think the other thing too is like how many people realistically show up to the point where if we got to, like if we all went to Eli's or something, somewhere with a ton of TVs in the same spot. We won't go to Buffalo Wild Wings, I'll tell you that.
Nope.
God, no.
They're not a top 5 scam in the country for nothing.
Right. Plus we like Eli's here.
Exactly. If you go to Buffalo Wild Wings to get your wings, you just
I went to Buffalo Wings and Rings the other day.
Stop eating wings.
Wings and Rings is good.
Wings and Rings is good.
That's the biggest fraud business ever is B-dubs.
Damn right, Brandon. Brandon is on his game today. Seho is just dropping dimes.
When you grow up with great wing spots in your community, why in the hell would you ever go to this place that has 1 million locations, raises the prices every year, and it doesn't even taste as good as the local joint? Makes no sense.
Have you portrayed the West Side by moving to Oakley?
I did get booed at the LaSalle Stag by one gentleman last year for saying that I moved to Oakley.
Yeah, it's betrayal.
I know the Oak's pretty good. I like my Crossroads, and it's tough.
All right.
Can I admit that I've never been to the Oak, so
missing out.
Don't know a lot about it.
Paul's been there.
Many.
Don't know if he remembers every occasion, but he's been there.
I've been there many times. Love the Oak.
Is that like a realistic spot, or is that not?
It's actually not a bad setup. It just, again, goes back to how many people show up. Like, if we had 15, 20 people show up, yeah, okay. But, like, if the whole chat, 100 people showed up, we can't go to the Oak. So.
Okay.
We don't want to make this like RSVP'd. We're not doing that. We're just trying to gauge.
Is Crossroads, are we talking about the church?
The church.
No. Before Crossroads Church was a thing, there's a wing spot in White Oak by LaSalle High School that is called Crossroads. So, yes, now I get that mixed up a lot. I'm like, no, this Crossroads was first.
You're not talking about Mega Church. You're talking
no, I'm talking about Mega Wings. Mega Wings.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll continue to sort through that. We're going to try to survive and advance that situation. And the next thing on the list is over-under Big Ten second weekend teams. So you got to make the Sweet 16 in the Big Ten.
Do you want to cap, or do you want me to cap? There's currently 10 teams in with one bubble team from the Big Ten.
Man. I'm going to cap it at 4.
You're saying 4 teams to make the Sweet 16? I'm hammering that under.
4 teams?
I mean, Purdue's got to be they're not lock either. 3.5. 3.5. That's my final answer.
I would have capped it at 2.5. So
right.
I would have said under.
Think about this. Michigan State, Iowa, and Illinois and Maryland, that's 4 teams are all on the 7 or 8 line, which means they would play a 1 or 2 seed in the second
Correct.
game.
And Rutgers is a 9.
And Northwestern is a 6. Yeah, okay, yeah.
And Rutgers is 9.
And Rutgers just lost last night on a buzzer beater to
Wisconsin's an 11.
Minnesota. And Northwestern is a 6, but they could be trending down.
The Big Ten only has 2 teams as a 4 seed or lower. Only 2.
The most confident take I have for March Madness, Purdue will not be out of the first weekend. They will not get out of the first weekend.
I'm not going to get caught up in that.
All right. I mean,
the beautiful thing that what you just said is that you will get really good odds on that if you decide that you want to take that. So what you could do is you could take the money line in the first round, which is going to be a ridiculously high odds money line. And then your second round, you're going to get pretty decent odds, I would think.
Once again, their only good win is Gonzaga, a ranked Gonzaga. They have 3 good wins. Duke, Gonzaga early in the year at that tournament Paul was at. But, all right, Gonzaga's still in the top 10, Duke, whatever. And then their other big win for the year, Ohio State. Top 25 win at Ohio State. Purdue's a fraud. Not even a top 10 team.
I think if you're giving me 3.5 on the over-under, I'm going to hammer that under. I would cap it at 2.5. I would say that for sure either IU or Purdue is getting to the Sweet 16. It might even be that both of them get there. And then sprinkle in one other Big Ten team getting there is what you're kind of basing it off of. So 2.5 I feel like is a good line. If you're giving me 3.5, I'm taking that under. I don't think there's going to get 4 teams in the Sweet 16.
Okay, I think they're going to get 3 guaranteed. Okay?
Okay.
Guaranteed. Between Purdue, Iowa, Maryland, Indiana, and Michigan State.
Michigan State coming from, what, the 11? Or
Yeah, like 11-6 type thing. Michigan State and Northwestern. Out of all of those teams that I just listed, 3 of those are going to make the Sweet 16.
So you have it at 3.5.
Yeah, and it's just a question of whether or not can Michigan, Illinois, or Rutgers or Penn State. Is Penn State going to get in?
They're right on the bubble.
They're the bubble team.
They're right on the
bubble. So that would make it 11.
3 of those 4 teams. Can one of those teams get hot and make the Sweet 16? I don't know.
Paul, if you had to cap this, where would you put?
Yeah, I would say 3.5. I would take the under, but I do think they get 3.
Okay.
I think they get 3. I think Indiana will make it. I think Purdue will make it, and I think.
And then you're gambling.
You're taking a 4th. I think there's too
many other 11 teams.
There's too many teams that like somebody probably gets in there, but I think Indiana and Purdue both will.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd feel confident in the under 3.5.
What are we doing about Race Thompson?
I don't know.
Okay.
Is he hurt?
Sorry. Not Race Thompson. Not Race Thompson.
Xavier Johnson.
I said Race Thompson.
He was supposed to come back Tuesday, but he didn't, obviously.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're already in, so they're.
Okay, I haven't heard the update.
He said on his Twitter that he was going to play last week on Tuesday. He didn't do that.
Okay.
So I think he's going to be fine for the tournament. They're just, why rush it if you're already sitting comfortably at a 4 seed? Like, maybe they'll have him play in the Big Ten tournament. I don't know. I don't think they're rushing him back. You want to get him some game, though. You want to get him some minutes before the tournament.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll play Sunday, Senior Day.
Iowa's that trendy pick too, though, that it feels like a little bit of a trap, where just because they can score the ball a lot and that they're fun to watch, doesn't always mean that depending on who they get matched up with, could go all that well. I think if you have good guards against Iowa, if you have good guards, that you can smash Iowa.
Yeah, Iowa. People forget Iowa's obviously had the 2 very high wins. They beat the crap out of Indiana at Assembly Hall by 30, and then had that comeback against Michigan State last week. But people also forget Iowa had the worst upset in college basketball history this year. Right? They were 40-point favorites and lost.
Eastern Illinois.
40-point favorites. It's the largest upset in college basketball history. So, yeah, I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get when a team plays the way that they do.
think they get 3 teams.
You think they get 3?
I do.
Okay.
Could they sneak a 4th? I mean, damn, they got enough teams.
You got 11. one.
Throw something at the wall, it might stick.
That's where I'm at with it, Paul. Like I don't know. I look at the list. I don't know if I love any of it, but there's so many of them that I'm almost betting on the idea that there's a small chance that 2 of them meet up in the second round on accident and then they automatically get one of them in.
Well, so here's what I'm wondering. All these teams like Iowa, Illinois, Michigan State.
They got 2 last year.
Rutgers. Even I'll throw Northwestern in there. They're all kind of hovering around that 8-9 range. What happens if Purdue ends up as a 1 seed? You're not allowed to play a team from your conference in the second round. Or in the first weekend, I guess I should say. Mm-hmm. They're just going to have too many teams that I guess they might have to.
What is the Big 12 going to do? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the Big 12 is all going to be protected. That won't matter.
Oh, okay.
Big 12 is pretty much all going to be protected seats. They'll have a couple down towards.
So I'm looking at last year's tournament. They had 7 teams in the round of 32.
The Big 10?
The Big 10 team. And they ended up getting 2 teams to the Sweet 16.
Okay.
They got Purdue and an 11 seed Michigan.
So let's say that same thing holds true this year. They have 7 teams in the round of 32.
Then you feel confident. Well, do you think that they're going to have 7 teams in the round of 32?
Listen, the line at 3 seems fair. I feel like that seems fair.
You've talked me off of 2.5.
3's a push. 3's a push. 4 you win. 2 you lose. At that point, I take the over.
I think 3.5 is the most fair line. You got to pay a little extra juice to get the under.
Okay. All right. I like that.
It's like minus 130 for the under.
Yep.
And then 3.5's the line.
Yep.
And I would take the under.
I don't think anyone's going to wholeheartedly disagree with that. Is there Seho always talks about Purdue being frauds, and I'm actually with him. I think I'm actually on the bandwagon he's on. I actually think
they're playing bad at the wrong time.
It's not just that.
Don't sell low.
I don't know if they are a top 10 team. I don't know if they are.
What makes them a top 10 team?
What team did they play that figured out Edey? You mentioned this after it happened.
Yeah, Northwestern. Northwestern. Chris Collins figured it out.
He has not played. They have not been the same team since they played Northwestern.
Yeah, at Northwestern.
Once they figured out how to double him and hack him, like the Shaq hack stuff, like it is.
Big brains.
They bring a different guy, right?
Yeah.
Every time they send it down there. It's not the same guy helping.
Chris Collins, usually what all these teams all year were doing was they would just bring that wing down, double him, and then he'd be able to find that guy out back on the wing, Fletcher Laura, whoever it was, shoot, boom. Had a bunch of guys, really talented shooters. Well, Chris Collins, what he started doing was, if we're going to bring the guy from the other block, we're going to bring the guy from the opposite wing. We're just going to bring a different guy to double him every time, so he's never going to know where that open guy is. Had a lot of turnovers. It's worked for the team since then. We'll see if they can figure it out before the tournament. I don't know.
I mean, Purdue Zach Edey had 20-plus points and 20-plus rebounds last night, and they barely scathed by Wisconsin, who is an 11 seed in the tournament currently.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's as much. I'll give credit to Northwestern about quote unquote figuring it out. I watched them against Wisconsin yesterday for the last 4 minutes of that game. Edey was kicking the ball out. They swung the ball around the horn or whatever you want to call it, and the perimeter, and they were missing shots. If those kids, and I call them kids, whatever you want to call them, the guards.
Yeah.
If those guards can just hit wide open threes, they are tough to beat. The problem is I don't believe in those guards. I've watched them enough now to where I'm like, okay, I'm not all that scared of them. In fact, I'd say right now, if you took Xavier's perimeter players and you stuck them on Purdue, I would say they win the national championship.
So since Purdue, yeah, that's actually I like that a lot. Since Purdue played Northwestern, they lost to Northwestern on February 12th. They lost by 6. They then went to Maryland, lost by 14.
Also like a 30-4 run in the final 10 minutes.
They beat up on Ohio State, who was skidding. Lost Indiana at home, and then barely skated by Wisconsin last night. So since Northwestern, it's not been good.
Not good at all.
And they've only gotten over 60 points twice.
Let's talk about this Dance with Rebound Rundown. That is the official term, right? That's the trademarked title that you had come up with. Betfred picked this up. Special shout out and thank you to Betfred for not only supporting the show but supporting a lot of our content here at Chatterbox Sports. Meeting with Jason today from Betfred. I'm trying to figure out if I had some communication with him yesterday. I didn't know if he was going to make it for the show or not, but nonetheless, we have a situation on our hands where we've been trying to guess what the odds of this would be. I was up last night sitting there, I don't want to say bored, but just had this thought, like, how amazing would it be if all the teams in here locally just got hot, and they all won. Next thing you know, what was an absolute abysmal college basketball season in the tri-state area for the most part, or a letdown, whatever term, the only team that you could say has exceeded the expectations of what their fan base have had, maybe outside of NKU, because I don't know NKU's expectations going into this year versus what it was. But for the brands that be around here, the only one that has exceeded the expectations is Xavier, or at least met them. However, as we've talked about on this show plenty, is that if you find a way to win 4 weeks at the end of the year, nobody gives a rat's tail what you did in November and December and January, and for the most part in February as well. It all comes down to March. So I threw out this just tweet, said, hey, what are the odds if UC, long odds, Xavier, basically no odds. You just had to include them because they're part of the local teams. Yeah. NKU and Dayton, didn't include Miami because, to be fair, I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch. They got to find a way if they can even get in their own conference tournament, I think, still. Yeah. But if they all won their conference tournament and or theoretically, the question of the day was if they all made the NCAA tournament, what the odds would be. You guys did the math on the previous show with Off the Bench. I don't know. I think $10 boosted should win you $4,000. Yeah. Somewhere in there. Yeah. That's probably my best guess. Don't know what they'll end up giving us or what they'll end up doing. You know, you never know how they're going to treat those odds. I hope the city of Cincinnati rallies behind that, though. That's fun. I know the likelihood of that is bad. We all get it. But if you got $5 laying around, $10 laying around, if you have a gambling problem, though, make sure you call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus in Ohio. But if you got a little spare change laying around, you know, when you're looking at your bankroll and your numbers like something with a 12 or behind it or whatever, it's like you got some weird change. Just throw that extra, get you a nice, good round number on your bankroll and take whatever that little difference is and put that on Dance with the Rebound Rundown. What's our main concern when it comes to that? Where are we at with that?
Can they change the rules in the American Conference to where they only play one half? If they can only play one half, then UC's got a real puncher's chance at winning this thing. That second half has been dangerous.
Or what they do is they say, Houston, you're already a number 1 seed. You don't even have to play in this tournament. We're just going to play for second place. Then we could get Cincinnati in. There's what's really going on here.
So
I don't know. They're plus 1,500.
They got to play Houston in the semifinals if they get there. Right.
We need NKU to win. I genuinely feel like if NKU wins,
you're confident about Dayton.
I have a
shot.
No. Yeah, I am very confident about Dayton. I love Dayton.
Flyers off the ledge all year.
I've been trying to steer the Flyers off the ledge all year.
Man, you got some bookmarks coming out.
Boy, do I. We'll get into that later. I got some bookmarks coming out real hot if the Dayton Flyers win the tournament and if they get to the second weekend. I will have Solly's good name will have blocked me and hate me and probably despise me in one of his most happiest moments of his life when the Dayton Flyers make the Sweet 16 because I will be insufferable for that man because I was called every name in the book around Thanksgiving.
Every name?
Pretty close to it. I was just trying to make sure that the Flyer fans were enjoying their Thanksgiving meal. They're out here worried about losing to somebody out in Maui or wherever they were at, the Bahamas. That's nonetheless. I have this weird feeling from a UC perspective that they are going to find themselves playing in the championship. I just don't know if they're going to win. I do.
You think they beat Houston and lose to Memphis?
I'm not going to say that out loud. But I have a feeling that they will get to the championship. And if they get to the championship, my main point to everybody here is, you know what we all can do? We can all hedge that side. You can with the
They would be underdogs in the championship. So, I mean, assuming they play Memphis, they would be underdogs. So you could hedge it.
Well,
wait, no,
you
want
to be the opposite.
You can't. No, it would be the other way around. Yeah. No, you can't. Never mind.
Yes, Paul, but you have so much flexibility with the amount of money you'd have to win that
brother. I mean, you're gonna have to put a lot of coin if they get to that semifinals against the Houston.
No. I'm talking about if they're in the championship.
Oh, if they get to the championship, then we're having fun.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's my point.
They're probably what 4 point.
I was gonna say 4 or 5.
4 or 5 point underdogs. And Dayton the A10 would be done at that point, right?
By hours, maybe, or an hour.
Okay,
they play it almost the same.
As long as it's done, as long as the game's done before tip, we can hedge.
Yeah.
Houston's only going to be
the A10 plays at 1. The American plays at 3:15. So we would know if Dayton won, we would know 15 minutes ahead of time what we could do.
Yep. Electric. It'd be electric. You talk about the city of Cincinnati having
that would be awesome.
Some electricity run through its veins. If we had half the city on the rebound rundown, dance with the rebound rundown, looking at $5 and $10 bets to win $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, and Dayton clinches. Really quickly, Paul, you know way more about this than me. Dayton has to win?
Yeah, absolutely has to win. A10's a one-bid league this year. Even VCU's not going to get in.
Trace, that's why those Dayton fans were so upset losing those games in November because they needed those games in November.
Yeah, the A10 is having one of its worst seasons of all time this year. Yeah, they don't have a chance. They got to win the A10 tournament. So does VCU. VCU finished. I was trying to go back and figure out when the last time was that the regular season champ in the A10 didn't get in. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just assuming that it has been a while. Feels like the A10 gets their regular season champion every year. Dayton's got a big one tonight against St. Louis, but it doesn't matter. Dayton's going to be the 2 seed. They have all the tiebreakers. They're going to be the 2 seed in that tournament. They'll play the 7-10 game, just like Xavier will. So that's what's going on.
I giggled about the A10 recently because I got on Bleacher Report. People still get on Bleacher Report.
Okay.
That's from like a decade ago. And I go to the college basketball, and they cover 7 conferences. And they cover the 6 big conferences, so Big East, all the major conferences. And then the 7th conference that they cover is the A10 for some weird.
Oh, really?
For some weird reason.
I was going to say the Mountain West.
I was going to say Mountain West. American would have been better probably, but the A10 is what they chose to cover, which I thought was objectively funny that the St. Louis Billikens got to have their own page on Bleacher Report.
Yeah. All right. So, rebound rundown. It'd be great for the show if all 4 teams made it. I'd have a lot to talk about.
It'd be great for all of our bankrolls, too, if we're being quite frank. We got to get you back. I mean, we meet with Jason from Bedfred here in a little bit. We're going to try to come up with some unique ideas, some fun things to do with these guys. What do we got to do to get Paul out of this?
I'm sitting.
Let's get yourself out of this little.
I'm sitting on a $100 Fred bet. I'm sitting on one right now that expires this weekend. I think. Like I got to use it or lose it. So I got to cook something up tomorrow. A winner.
One winner. Don't parlay.
Maybe a couple winners.
You don't need to come all the way back, Paul.
Maybe a couple winners.
Why is $90 not enough for you?
Maybe a couple winners.
Paul is the kind of guy right now. He's been in the huddle. He's been he's had the whiteboard out. He's been drawing up all these plays and then he erases them real fast. He draws the play up and then he erases it real fast. Paul's looking for the 12-point shot. There's only 3 of them, Paul.
Right.
You can only get 3 at one time.
Right.
Wait, let's make the first 3. Let's get a stop. Let's come back down. Let's hit the next 3.
Let's get a quick 2.
Yeah. Let's get it.
Oh, quick 2. That's not what we want, Casey. We don't need the quick 2. We need the 3.
Paul, we're seeing the board well right now.
God, we're seeing it so well.
We're seeing it well. Last night I was like 6-1. The other night, I was seeing it incredibly well, and I just bad money management. This is where I needed Tracy Jones in my life. I was doing a little too ridiculous hedging. I was all over the place. It was not good.
I did a bad thing yesterday. I did an irresponsible thing.
Oh no!
And it worked out. It worked out. Let me preface this by saying this was irresponsible. So I was having a bad night. couple losers. I was doing what Paul and Casey were talking about, where every time you seem to up your bet, it loses, and you're just picking your spots at the wrong choice. So I'm chasing a little bit.
Oh, no.
So I'm sitting around 11 o'clock. I really loved Arizona. Loved them. So I threw the rest of my Betfred account, the whole account, what was left, on Arizona. And I cashed out at halftime. I got too scared. I cashed out. Well, it was still plenty. I made plenty of money. It was probably like 70% of my total profit.
Good for you.
Because they were up by like 13 at halftime, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to stay up for the rest of this game, so I'm getting out now. Made my profit, brought it back. It was good. It was not responsible, but it worked out.
All right.
Let's
in the vault, one pick. Let's go one pick around the horn. What do you got, Reed? Do you know off the top of your head?
You have
start somewhere
breathed
else?
confidence, breathed it in me for your former town that you used to live in, the Flyers, going to St. Louis tonight as 1-point favorites. I think they get it done. Was that the Paul's pick of the day?
It wasn't the pick of the day, but I do like them to get it done.
I like the Flyers in St. Louis. By the way, objectively funny that the school is named after the Saint, even though it is also in the city St. Louis. Like, it's not St. Louis like the city's. It is St. Louis.
Yeah.
That is objectively funny. But give me
knew
that. Give me
Yeah.
the Flyers. Yep.
Flyers. I took Miami, little local flavor. Why not? Why not? +8.
I'm smelling a local parlay.
Southwest Ohio parlay. The swap.
I'm working hard for you guys right now.
Before last night's game with NKU, I took them to win the Horizon League tournament.
Ooh.
Ride the train with me. Let's go. That's my suggestion.
NKU.
There are some dog games tonight. I mean, it is not a great slate.
I want to find some tournament games, some games that are actually worth maybe turning the 2-ball for. And you weren't kidding when you were saying here's the pick. Ready? You're not gonna like it. I get it.
It's Purdue.
Southeast Missouri State.
Let's go.
Oh, you hate Moorhead.
No, you can't bet against.
What do you hate against Moorhead?
Wait, are they playing Moorhead? You can't bet against them.
Are you kidding me? I mean, like what? I don't get what you hate against Moorhead.
I mean,
they're the number 1 seed too.
I mean, where are they playing that tournament?
Ball State.
I'm out.
what am I supposed to say after that?
I don't know. I'm
Southeast Missouri State.
I'm trying to find a Thom Brennaman parlay. Take Ohio.
I'm trying to get you more money, so then you can bet and get on the train of Moorhead. That's what I'm trying to do. Usually, more money helps you gamble on Moorhead. Just saying. Casey, get the camera off of me.
Let's go to lunch.
Friday, where are we going?
Give me the wheel of lunch.
It's after the meeting or before the meeting.
Looks like before. Let's
do a quickie.
Let's get the wheel of lunch back on here because we've had some people that were not happy about us. They were saying that we were not doing our jobs well on the box lunch presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Again, if you have a gambling problem,
Sonic
please
on
call
there.
1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus in Ohio. Put Sonic on there, and we'll be
Okay.
men of our word with Sonic.
It's just so you know, it's raining, so that'll
Cincinnati
be fun for
kid,
them.
the bait and fish fry is canceled. The Rams are playing for a regional championship. They canceled it. Yeah, we need some Catholic choices here for me and Paul, and Brandon if he wants to partake.
McDonald's, they got the filet of fish, right?
Oh, no. That's not an option.
Listen, the
Arby's.
filet of fish. I hate people that like the filet of fish. I hate people that like it.
I
It's
don't-
the worst sandwich.
It's so bad.
It is terrible.
I used to love it as a kid. Then when I was working at a radio station, overnight radio, had a bad experience. I'm guessing the tartar sauce was expired or something like that. I haven't had it in 10 years.
Every fast food place has a good fish sandwich besides McDonald's.
This is the worst take you have.
It is terrible. Tracy's going to sit up there, but their bun's so soft. It's so nice.
You don't
It's
got
nice.
nothing.
Oh, what about Long
It
John
is
Silver's? Is there one of
terrible.
those?
It is terrible. It is bad fish. It tastes like crap. Their tartar sauce tastes weird. Everything about it is terrible. The fillet of fish. What do you always say, Paul?
Josh Morgan says
Miss
Culver's
me
has
with
a
the fillet of
decent.
fish.
He says they have a decent fish sandwich. They have a great fish sandwich.
I put it up there.
Every fast food place has a great fish sandwich besides.
Taco Bell, they got
Stop.
one of those?
I do not.
Oh, okay.
How dare you?
Oh, you're gonna get on the hill of the fillet of fish.
Tracy Jones.
Tracy Jones in it.
How dare you?
All right, well, we got Culver's, Arby's.
We need one more to fill up the wheel.
Long
McDonald's.
John Silver's.
Take
Long John
McDonald's.
Okay,
Silver's.
so that too.
LJS.
Take
right.
McDonald's off there.
No, it stays. Gotta stay.
Oh.
Preferred Wendy's. All right, we're good.
Wow.
Well, that's
That's what we
it's
want.
a good start of the day for Reed.
Sir Boy Wonder changed his profile picture
to Trace.
to Trace.
I love how that's a good thing. Is there a better a better chatter in the has a better shtick than poofy haired boy coming in every once in a while? How we looking? It's the first message he sends.
How we looking? It's gonna end up at Sonic. And
No.
it's gonna
They have fish at Sonic?
Baby. They have.
Oh, boy.
I mean, they have non-meat. I mean, they have grilled cheeses and stuff. So we can
I
make
think I'm
Sonic.
ending up at all.
All right, guys, this is it.
If we get Culver's, that's elite.
No.
No, we gotta go to Sonic.
Sonic on a day we can't even eat it.
We're gonna have to get a grilled cheese or fish. They got fish.
I mean, nothing says
Can we-
seafood like Sonic.
Can we push Sonic to Monday?
Adam Kunkel likes Sonic.
Place is the worst.
Yeah.
That place is the worst.
Good cherry limeade.
God is great. Look at Mouse Cop.
God is great. All right. Well, let's go get some.
What does Sonic have that's not?
They have grilled cheeses and tater tots.
Are you allowed to eat cheese?
Yeah.
Just some mozzarella sticks.
Yeah, I mean it's concession stand food is what it is.
Oh, it's worse. It's worse than concession stand food. In fact, when I go to my local Little League, I expect better food than Sonic's.
Westside's known for their good.
Is Panda Express open?
We can't eat Panda Express.
Could have some lo mein, some fried rice.
There wasn't on the wheel.
Oh, they put eggs in that. That's right.
There's something called integrity. There's something
right.
called
Who sponsors
sticking
this
to
show?
your word.
Who sponsors this show?
I've said it like 9 times. I'll say it again, just
telling you to wrap
because,
it up.
just because I can.
All right.
This show's brought to you by, sponsored by, presented by Betfred Sportsbook. Hope you have an enjoyable weekend. We are going to have a miserable lunch, but until next time, we'll see you on Monday. Thank you for watching. Take care, everybody.